should start coming over to here. Bear with me. But Carrie, it's good to see you.
You too.
Yeah. And so you have been in in Louisiana.
I have, yes.
So go ahead and regale us with what you had going on in Louisiana.
Well, if I tell you, I have to kill you. So,
Okay.
but I was there for a conference and I was there for people who support freedom. And I got to meet Mike Benz. Do you know who he is?
Mike Benz, fresh my
Mike
memory.
Benz. Mike Benz did a lot of the research on being able to support Doge, Department of Government
Oh,
Efficiency.
yes. Okay.
And he's been on Joe Rogan and Tim Pool. He hosted Tim Pool last night. Um, but he was there to talk about digital media literacy, which I'm happy to get into. But first, let me say Louisiana, the French Quarter, I absolutely fell in love with and had a hard
Yeah.
time coming back. Had such a hard time coming back. Yes. Yes. And the
Oh,
only thing that would have made it better is if my husband and son were with me, but they weren't. So um, it was absolute amazing. And the street that I got to stay on was Royal Street. So it was quite the treat.
nice.
Yeah.
And
And go ahead.
well, I, I've never been there to New Orleans. I would like to go
Oh,
one time. Um, I think it'd just be a really cool experience.
it is. And
Um,
it's full of like, it's full of ghost stories and vampires and things like that. I would never go at Halloween. I would never go for Mardi Gras. It was perfect timing because you could stroll. You could just enjoy a leisurely stroll. And I did that every night. I was there for 4 nights, and the food was to die for. It was
mm, a lot of
so good.
rich and like,
Like seafood etouffee, which is like a gravy that they put over French fries, and I don't really eat French fries,
kind of like
so
poutine, I
I tried it
guess.
anyways. Yes, but so this gravy had mushrooms in it, and it
Mm,
was very, but the best was the collard greens.
I
And
like
it's funny
collard
because
greens.
see, some people, some people in Utah like to call me melanin deficient, but when it comes to my soul food, give me my collard greens any day.
Melanin deficient. I like collard greens. I like most like southern ethnic food. But let's face
Yeah.
it, I like all foods. I am not a picky eater. I'm a
I
consumer of foods.
I will be
Um,
doing Slim Fast all week after that trip.
you got to make
I'm
up
just
for it.
big time. Or my students will have something to say. Mrs. B, you didn't eat the last 3 months of last year. Why are you eating? What did you eat over the summer?
Well, sometimes it's worth it to go and experience a place, and that there's almost no better way to experience somewhere than their food.
Yes.
The
And
cuisine
their
is,
service. You know,
yeah.
Utah has a massive push for be kind, right? Like constantly, I would call it socially conditioning, just constantly pushing for be kind that isn't exactly kind. There are genuinely kind people in Utah,
Mm,
but the culture of kindness is very manufactured. And that's also what I felt about being in New Orleans and being near the architecture that is really old and just extremely authentic. And you can see the brick, and then you can see that before they had the brick, before the Spanish came, when they had stucco, and how that's behind the brick in some places and it's missing. And in Utah, we're watching a lot of places be torn down and be replaced with the newest, the shiniest, and quite frankly, the most boring.
a lot of corporate, the
Yes.
cold and bland. I mean, just look at McDonald's. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be, and the thing is, I like modern architecture. I like mid-century architecture. So I like it when it looks like when it's old but new. It was what they imagined the future would be like.
Mm,
Today, it's just like slap things up as fast as possible and take over these small towns. I just saw that they're doing one in Springville right now,
hmm.
just coming in and changing it. And it doesn't matter when people go to those meetings and they say, we don't want this. Our
That's
elected
because the
officials,
plan's been made.
yes,
They don't bring it to a meeting until they've already made the plan and probably made a deposit.
yes, yes. And I think that if you, uh, some people have said that if you start going down all of the lines, you'll see that it's the same people investing across the state.
Mm.
They're they're really, I don't know, they're kind of like robber barons. They're just taking everything they can.
Yeah, well, I've got a different take on it.
Okay.
So this one's gonna make some people mad, but deal with it. I think the boomers are in total control of our society and have been for a long time. And every bill that's come across the table has been has pushed through if the boomers wanted it, and it fell if the boomers didn't. And
Mm.
right now, one of the big pushes is to do away with property taxes for seniors, which is just going to up the taxes for everyone else. But that's because the boomers are in the age group where that would benefit them.
Oh.
And it's going to pass. Now the boomers have moved out of the age where they're going to have kids with them at all ever. Right? Now the boomers are great grandparents. They're
Mm.
not
Okay.
grandparents anymore. They're
Right.
great
Okay.
grandparents. So everything that used to be coded and geared towards children aren't anymore. McDonald's is no longer geared towards children. It's not the shiny colors anymore. Now it's drab and subdued.
A
Um,
lot of them don't have play parks anymore.
New ones aren't getting play parks. If it had a play park, it's going to maintain it. But
Okay.
new ones aren't getting play parks.
But wait a second. I have a pushback on this because
Please do.
one, we've got a few senators. I'm thinking of Senator Johnson, Senator Ivory, who are freedom minded and who do, even though they may be in good places, they do tend to care about, because feel like there's a difference between the elderly who, well, probably where you live too, but where I live out here in Payson, there's a lot of people who have been factory workers their whole lives, and they
Mm-hmm.
are on a set income.
Mm-hmm.
And as they build all of this new infrastructure and the taxes go up, they are being priced out of the home that maybe they even paid off, but they're still being priced on it in taxes. So I think
Sure.
I hate to use a blanket term for really anybody unless it's the awfuls, the
Oh,
affluent white
let me.
female liberals.
This you've got to step out of the idea of Republican, Democrat,
Yes.
freedom-minded authority. This is. Have you ever read The Fourth Turning?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
This is their mindset. You've got to step out of whether it's freedom-minded or not. Because if it's truly freedom-minded, they would do away with property taxes for everyone,
Yes.
not just one particular group, which is going to raise property taxes for everyone else because they're going to have to pick up the slack.
Okay. But now
So
I don't know
what I'm
where they
saying,
stand on those things, but I think
I
that
want
probably
property
property tax
taxes done away
forever.
with because
Yes.
I happen to believe in the make believe that we were founded on life, liberty, and property and all that. I mean, all
Right.
that's completely
Right.
crap, but I happen to believe in it.
Okay.
I don't believe that you should rent something you buy in perpetuity. But
Agreed.
what we're looking at is the boomers have dominated our government, because they were the largest group. They're the largest generation, and
Okay.
they dominated just by sheer numbers. They were larger than the generation before them, and they're way larger than the generations behind them.
Right. We are in a
And
crisis of, yeah.
so as a voting bloc, they carried a lot of momentum, and that's why boomers are going to maintain the presidency since, I mean, Clinton was a boomer, W is a boomer, Obama's a boomer. And then you've got Trump's a boomer. Biden is on the cusp of being a silent, but he's a boomer. And then Trump's a boomer also. They've dominated. The Gen Xers have been skipped. A whole generation skipped from leadership.
You wonder, you look at the Capitol, and I mean, at Congress in DC, what I look at is I look at these old people that are geriatric and should probably stop. They, you know, I'm like, did you remember your teeth today? And then you've got their performative young people. And so the people who have kind of, you know, what is that thing? If you're not a Democrat and when you're in your 20s, you have no heart. If you're not by your 30s Republican, you have no brain. Now, I can have a whole big battle on the whole Republican issue because I believe, especially in Utah, I break people into Mitt Romney Republicans and others.
And Salt Lake Republicans and others.
Yes, but I mean, it is foolish to pretend that we don't have, quote, Salt Lake Republicans or Romney Republicans in rural towns.
Sure, I'm sure there's one or two of them, but this point of the boomers dominating all politics sits outside of Democrat, Republican, or outside of conservative, progressive. It sits outside of all that.
I would call it uniparty, and it's just greed.
Everything's uniparty. It's not greed.
Yeah. No?
Look,
you don't think it's
the boomers are hot garbage. Yes. Okay. My dad's a boomer. He's not hot garbage, but as a generation, they're hot garbage.
Okay.
Every maneuver they made.
Were they the hippies?
Yes. Every maneuver they made, they fought hard against Nixon having the ability to send Marines anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But then Reagan gets in after they're out of the getting drafted age, and then they vote to say, yeah, Reagan has 30 days.
Yeah.
How about like right now with or all of the tax laws that came through in the last 40 years, they pushed them through because it benefited them. Good or bad. I'm not saying whether the law is good or bad. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're just such a large voting bloc that they dominated.
Yes,
and
but
now,
again, go ahead.
And we're sitting in the first time in known history where a group is wealthier than their kids at maturation.
Yes.
The first time. And they're happy with it.
Well, there's also the fact that a lot of that generation likes to keep their children close. And by close, I mean in the basement.
No, that's not the boomers.
No?
That's the Xers doing that.
Okay. All right.
Because the boomers still maintain too much hold on the market that the millennials can't get a foothold to get out on their own.
Okay.
The boomers aren't giving up their high-paying jobs like they should. They're not if they're high-paid, they're sticking with it. They're riding that bugger out.
Yeah.
So they're not making room for natural growth into the market.
So how did these free-loving, hippie, peace, love, and happiness people decide that they wanted to stay in forever and not care to pass any of that on to the next generations?
Because they were hippies to avoid Vietnam.
Okay.
They weren't hippies because they really cared. They were hippies to avoid Vietnam. Okay. Once Vietnam was over, they became yuppies.
Oh, wow. Okay. I did not. This is a part of history that doesn't, it's not ancient history. It's not the Constitution.
And this isn't me hammering on boomers. It's just they're the largest voting bloc, so they're going to maintain this momentum longer. And the boomers didn't replace themselves. And then the
Okay.
Xers didn't replace themselves. And now
Mhm.
millennials haven't replaced themselves. And then we're going to have a demographic collapse. And then we'll see what comes out of the smoke and ashes of that.
Well, unfortunately, what we get with a demographic collapse is a lot of immigration, which could take us right into
Maybe.
what what's going on across, well, really across the West. We have
The
crazy
thing
immigration.
the
Go ahead.
thing that happens is once our country gets either diluted or devalued past a point,
Hmm.
there will be demigration.
Okay.
They'll leave. More
Okay.
Mexicans left in the last 4 years than came.
Okay. So I'm not really worried. So I grew up in Eastern Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been about around migrant workers,
Mm-hmm.
and I think their work ethic is phenomenal, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel personally, I don't feel a threat there, and I know that'll make some people angry, but I don't feel a threat there. I don't like the idea that we have so much debt and we've given so much in aid to other countries, and then people come here and send it all home. I don't like that. So I find that a problem. But to me, that is nothing compared to people coming here who absolutely have no respect or desire to assimilate at all.
Yeah, it's well, you got to break into psychology. Okay, people, immigrants who come here to work and build and strive, not a problem, and I think we need to be built around that. But there's a saying I have on this show: you cannot have open borders and a welfare state. They cannot
Yeah,
coexist, and that's what we've had, especially under Biden. When the feds weren't pumping money at them, the different cities and states were. So you can't have those two things coinciding because one, that draws in the wrong type of immigrant. And also, those immigrants come in for that temporary transience. And when you're a transient somewhere, you don't care if you leave it cleaner than you found it.
right.
And you don't care if you leave it less uh, S-aid than when you found it. And you don't care if you leave it less unalived than when you found it. So someone who comes in, even if they come in to work temporarily, they still want that place to be of value. The people who are here
Right.
temporary, just coming in, they're just, I'm coming in to get this paycheck. And then once that dries up, I'm going to pop smoke and go somewhere else. Those people don't care at all. And they've got
Mhm.
that psychological mentality that they don't care. So that's where that is. But that just, I don't know, dig in, read the Fourth Turning. It's an interesting book. Really an interesting book. I've I've read it or listened to it about 5 times now. It's
Oh,
that you
wow. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
really an interesting book. And most of the time I like fiction, like war books. But this one, it catches me and sticks with me.
Well,
Check
I
it
have
out.
some. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
See what you think. But I've got to play our intro real quick because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
20 minutes late on that. So everyone enjoy the intro and then we'll be right back.
Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
All right. Thank you, KMMU. Beautiful intro. Okay. So, on the docket to talk about tonight, of course, the Minnesota shooter. We got to hit that. We've got to hit um, the Scotland girl, I guess is what we're going to call her. I don't know. Um, what was
They
was it
claim that her name is
Boudica?
Maya. I'm sorry,
Was
Boudica?
it Boudica? was the English queen or princess that became a queen that held off the Romans? Boudica, I think.
Oh, I don't
That's what
know
we
about
should
this.
call her, is
Okay.
the
Boudica.
Scotland Boudica. They've got a big statue to her in England. She was a Scottish princess when the Romans came and took over. I think if I remember, they took her and her sister as kind of, whatever you call them when they take princesses, and held them captive and killed her father. And then she escaped and rose an army of Britons, or maybe they were Picts. I think Picts were in Scotland. That's where the blue comes from. The Picts would go to war naked and paint themselves
Oh,
blue. Pretty interesting. They were savages. Anyways, Boudica, she rose an army and held the Romans off for a spell. And then Rome did what Rome did and went to civil war over Great Britain a handful of times. But anyways, and then I think this is a comment. We got a comment from Jordan Lott. He says, and this goes to the boomers. Now, the boomers are mostly the parents of the millennials. Some of us Xers in the later end of the Xers will have boomer parents, but most Xers have parents in the silence, the ones right before the boomers. And those are the ones in between, the greatest and the. Anyways, it's a whole nother thing. But Jordan says, my dad took away my debit card. He says he's teaching me money management. My life is tough and rough, sadly. Okay, Jordan, is this a debit card that you earn money and put money in? And or is it a bank that's tied to him? Was you hitting overdraft? What's
well, and
other
how
than
old
that,
is
I
Jordan?
don't see how if it's your bank and he takes it away, call and cancel it and order a new one. If it's tied to him, sadly, you're going to have to step out and start making your own money, open your own bank account, and separate yourself in that way. Those are the steps. And if you're not ready to do that, then follow the advice of your father. I'm hoping he means well, and I'm hoping he's not doing you wrong. And if he is doing you dirty, you need to separate from that immediately. That's my opinion on it. I know my father, when I was in my first marriage, I was off in basic training. My first ex-wife was bouncing checks a lot. And so I requested my father go to her and take the checkbook from her and issue it out. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I hope that, that's not the case for you. But if he is just doing it maliciously, separate yourself from that situation. Become your own man. You'll have a better relationship with your father after that. That's the trick. Trick to having a good relationship with your father: become a man. It works. It's ingenious. Okay. Budgeting and managing money is important, though. Pay off our bills and taxes on time. Yes. And is Gary Johnson and the Koch brothers boomers? I believe Gary Johnson is a boomer right at the end of it. The Koch brothers, definitely in the boomer age. Boomers are people that are right now, I believe the youngest boomer would be like 57 to 60, somewhere in there. Actually, maybe a little over, maybe 65. I'd have to look it up. Okay, on to the Minnesota shootings. The exciting time. Now, Simulated says all different kinds of shooters, but this one in particular was a trans deck. And that one that was in Tennessee was also a trans. Was it Tennessee?
There's about the majority of them are. Let's just put it that way. The majority
Right
of
now.
them are. Well, and it makes
Yes.
sense because there's a big difference. So there's a movement that's called from transgender to transhuman. And there's this idea that, and the reason why we center around, or we're supposed to, or politicians center around the transgender movement, is they believe that they're more enlightened. So that's where it moves to transhumanism, which sounds totally weird and off its rocker, but this is kind of a lot of the stuff that I dig into. But the issue is that when you center around people, like, just take it down to its basic level, you take a kid who maybe, I'll just use an example of someone I know. 2 siblings in the family. The daughter is beloved, obviously the favorite. The son is not. The son now identifies as a girl. And a huge part of that is that they want to be special. And then on top of that, one of the things that I'm watching is a lot of people attacking the mother. And I don't think people understand what parents go through when their kids say, maybe at school, that they're trans. They are told flat out that if you don't affirm your child is going to exit this world.
Especially in Minnesota. Minnesota has been.
Yes. Well, we have it
written
here.
laws.
We have. So when we banned conversion therapy, therapists could no longer have conversations. And I understand why they banned conversion therapy. There were people who were like, this is who I am, and I'm not being loved for who I am. But they completely banned it. And when they banned it, they opened up the doors to heal everything that was before. And so that healing has opened up. I've got pages and pages and pages in Colorado of how to teach sex ed to first graders, second graders, third graders. And I have it all. I have all of the pictures. They're teaching them about the pink triangle. They're all of these things. Okay, but the thing is that when you teach a person that their emotions matter most, and you affirm, they cannot see how they could do anything wrong. Now, this kid is unique in that he already said he hated being trans. He wished he could cut off his hair but then that would be a massive failure to the fact that he got tricked into being trans.
He says he tricked himself into it, which I think is the case. You trick yourself.
Well, you watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, a lot of TikTok videos.
Or
you also go ahead.
Well, Tumblr was the big animal that got him.
Tumblr's huge.
I don't know if Tumblr's still around.
So is anime, but a specific kind of anime is huge.
Tranime?
It's not tranime, but it's called MAGNA, Magna, I think is how you pronounce it. Magna.
Okay. Magna, like the city.
So, there you go. But no, it is a.
I think it's manga.
Manga, that's it. Yes. And then there's a lot. So MANGA, that's it. Okay. So then there's a lot of. I was with people, again, I'm not going to tell you everything, but I was with people over this weekend who one person put her daughter in an art club. Art clubs are pushing, because all of this stuff pushes an agenda. And the agenda is, why is the child oppressed? So if the child's oppressed and they see the whole world as being against them, no wonder they're furious. But more than that is the furiosity that goes against Christians. So this is a Catholic school. The kids are praying in chapel and they get shot. And when people say our hearts and prayers are with them, politicians say prayers aren't going to do it here. And I saw somebody. Go ahead.
A certain old press secretary for a inept and dementia-ridden president said that for sure.
Yes. And so did it wasn't the governor of Minnesota, but a governor also said the same thing. I think they're not going to do it.
Yeah, there's always going to be a big push for some kind of kooky gun control.
There wasn't when our current president was shot.
No.
There was no call. In fact, people were upset that it didn't take.
They wanted that to disappear from the news cycle immediately.
They did. But
that's why they didn't.
On top of that, if the gun is used to remove people that they believe no one cares about, they're fine with it. And that's the big issue, is that
I don't think that they believe no one cares about. If they look, the left are very well. I would argue almost anyone is, maybe even a lot of people on the right are very okay when violence is inflicted on a perceived enemy.
So I think the difference here, at least this is how I feel about it. I am against bad ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that people are generally bad unless they know, unless you have, say, went and spoke to somebody and said, this is what's going on, here's all the proof, and then they still say no and call you crazy and a liar.
I want to argue
Then yeah.
this. I'm going to give him. I don't want to call him by his given name or chosen name. I think, and I'm sorry, KMMU, but we're 30 minutes into it, so we can do this. And I might get in trouble later, but I think his name shall be Shitbrick. I believe Shitbrick is bad.
Okay.
And Shitbrick knew they were bad. Shitbrick pre-apologized for what Shitbrick was about to do. Shitbrick went and brought violence on innocents. Shitbrick talked about how they felt they were messed up and wished they wouldn't have. So yes, Shitbrick was bad. Shitbrick was evil, and Shitbrick shall not be named by me, or
I can agree.
has been named by me.
I can completely agree with that. When you first said it, I was trying to think, who are we talking about? Because there are many people that I thought could have that name.
I want to start a movement that every time someone does one of these massacres at schools, we give them a nickname, and I will start right now with Shitbrick. I'll name the person in Tennessee. Yeah. I will call that Tennessee Dickhead. Tennessee one was Dickhead. This one is Shitbrick, and I will think of a good one if it ever happens again.
Well, it's not really an if. That's the sad thing. Because
it better be an if.
You've seen the wheel. I've shown you the wheel of privilege and power. Okay? So the newest wheel that they have is now Christians are the center, Christians are the most oppressed. The next group or the Christians are the most oppressive, according to this. The next group is, and I'm not joking, I'll put it on your page. The next group is anyone who celebrates a Christian holiday. And then the other group, the group that is not oppressed, is everyone else. Or they're the group that are oppressed. So you're
what are they saying about Jews right now?
Yeah, so they're not on that list. And a lot of the reasons Jewish people are not on the list is because there's a lot of funding. And so a lot of the terrible things that are targeting just kind of gloss over that. I mean, your kid's going to get into college, but most people don't understand that anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism are very much intertwined. It has nothing to do with whether or not.
Sometimes I would argue, okay, anti-Semitism is hitting different, and I'm not going to get into a debate on what's going on in the Middle East or any of that.
Yeah.
I tend to read that from a historical context, and if you read the history, you become very apathetic to the whole situation.
Where I feel is that the goal is to teach people that there shouldn't be a sovereign nation. The whole goal is open borders.
Well, of course, they want a world government.
And so if you can get rid of that sovereign nation, then America and America's values, it's easy to say, and they're already saying it. You know, I don't know if you've seen Randy Weingarten of the teachers, that president of the Teachers Association, but
no.
Okay, she has a book out right now called Why Fascists Hate Teachers. I mean, it's that stupid. And honestly, dictators and fascists tend to take over the schools and teach the kids whatever garbage they want to teach them. That's fact. So, go ahead.
I see. Well, one, I would like someone to do what's their definition of fascism first. Lay that out
Right.
for me, because I know what the definition of fascism is, but
I would say their definition is anyone who doesn't believe in globalism.
anyone who doesn't
Anyone
agree
who
with them.
anyone who wants anyone who believes that we should have sovereign nations and
Yeah.
strong borders. That alone makes you fascist today.
Yeah, that tends to be the thing. Anyone who doesn't economically agree with them, but
Yeah. But that the hypocrisy there, because these people are making $400,000 a year to tell you that you should share the pie.
I hope she listens to this. I'm going to tell her why me, as a extreme libertarian, I am not a Republican. I am not a conservative. I am an extreme libertarian. I think the Republicans are too statist for my liking. Why we don't like teachers right now is because teachers are trained right now to push things that are negative towards the family unit. The family unit is the ultimate tool for making people who can govern themselves, people who can manage their life without the government. And teachers have been trained in those education schools to teach students that they need the government to manage that.
So I'm going to push back, because I just did an interview a couple of hours ago with the teacher. And not every teacher is swallowing this. So I hate to put, and I feel like that's the difference between a conservative.
I'm not universalizing them. I'm saying this is what is taught in the teaching schools.
That's true. And that is true. You can't.
And that means just because you're taught that doesn't mean you have to reflect that when you get out into the world. But that is what's taught.
And to graduate, you have to say it.
We have to parrot it.
Yes. Unless you take an alternate route to education, which you can. Thankfully, there are options that you can do.
My sister-in-law just did it. She's now teaching at a charter school. But I want to get back to the shooter here. I want to.
Sure. Yeah.
So my thoughts is that in my day and age, people who were kind of outcasts found their way. There were certain trends that they would find their way into that became the fancy thing for people who didn't get invited to the parties. And that was Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, and they would become goth, but that was them just joining a different group to get to the party. This day and age, kids, youth that don't get invited to the parties, and I don't want to call them outcasts, but aren't amongst the in crowd, find their way onto the internet. And as they find their way onto the internet, this individual, Shitbrick, probably started exploring Tumblr and maybe certain parts of Instagram, and say one night, mom and dad are watching The Late Show, and or mom, I would lay hard money there's no dad.
No, there is in this case.
Oh, there is. Okay. Anyway,
yes.
Mom and dad are watching The Late Show, and they're paying attention in their own little world. Maybe they're drinking a bottle of wine and planning on getting frisky later. And the kid, 13-year-old Shitbrick, is exploring the internet and finds Tumblr and starts just following down pathways that night after night they start out maybe reading an alternate lifestyle page, and then
it usually
start liking someone that
it usually starts with pornography,
or if it's whatever they do.
Yeah. So if it's autogynephilia, it usually starts with pornography. And then they just kind of tap out on how much they've consumed, to the fact that they can't find a woman that satisfies them, so they become that woman themselves.
Well,
which is one way. But there's
but what I want to say is, so in this group, so when I was in high school, these outside kids would find Dungeons and Dragons and then form their own group off of Dungeons and Dragons or Magic or whatever, right? Just like the popular kids form their own groups off of whatever they were doing. These kids would, but now, say the kids in Shipwreck School formed a group around being sexually outside of normality. And so they probably became a group, probably a little herd that walked around and said, you know, I'm more not normal than you, and who's the weirdest, and, you know, and then started sharing and building on that. And over a few years, they build on that, and they get it in their mind that not only to stay in that group, but to get a claim in that group. And then also the state that they're in pushes a claim down on them, so they're more important for being that. Yeah. And then they've got a governor that speaks out and says, we want to be a safe place for you guys, you know, instead of saying, I want to be a safe place for everyone. He comes out and the country at the time is pushing towards that. And so this individual falls deeper into that. Well, school ends. School ends 3 years ago for Shipwreck, or 22, right? 4 years ago. 3 years ago for Shipwreck, school ends. And Shipwreck is forced out onto the world. And invariably, some people in his group go on to college and say, oh, I'm going to rewrite myself. And they forget all about craziness. They're like, boom, I am now, you know, whatever, normal. Some of them still carry that on, but they get into a workplace, tone it down, build new friends, maybe start playing frisbee golf, or maybe pick up other hobbies. So they drift away from the combined hobby that is their sexuality. And all of a sudden, 4 years, 4 years later, or probably a year later or 2 years, Shipwreck is kind of left alone with his own shipwreckness. And in his shipwreckness, he starts regretting his choices of outcasting himself, herself. I don't care. Outcasting. And because they have held on and didn't grow past it, they haven't been able to build any bonds since. They've been stuck without any bonds. Any of those normal bonds where, you know, you make new friends, whatever, they you know, leaned into it hard. The long hair could have went and flowed around the world just fine with long hair, but it's probably other things that they said and did. And so Shipwreck becomes a loner, and in their turmoil of being a loner, starts getting corrupted ideas, starts following down paths, that thought process that if only this political individual wasn't here, life would be perfect for everyone. It's not the case. It's not the case that if one person is elected or not elected, that the world gets better. It just doesn't happen. The world is what it is. Politicians rarely, if ever, have any positive or negative effect on your world. I mean, right now, this economy we're suffering is from COVID. I'm going to say it again for everyone in the back.
Right.
It is Trump's fault for what he did at the end of his first term. It's Biden's fault for continuing what Trump did at the beginning of his term. We are paying wholesale for the dumbassery we did during COVID.
Agreed. So the first thing is that these kids are being taught to be concrete thinkers. They think in absolutes. The second thing is that in queer ideology, in queer theory, they actually teach that childhood innocence is a myth and it's oppressive. So some people believe that in removing these children, they're setting them free from what could have been their oppressive life as Christians. That is where this goes. So it's and that's why it continues to be. This is the second time it's been a Christian school. Okay, they're taught that anything that wasn't affirming, especially if they went to school and heard that maybe marriage is between a man and a woman, and then they get down this road, they feel that they're just propagating another generation of people who are going to feel that way. So they need to end them, which is really disturbing. And that was the point I wanted to make, is that somebody like me who is a conservative, I'm not ashamed at all of saying that I am a conservative. But that does not necessarily mean I am a Republican. And it doesn't mean, the thing about conservatives and why we often fail is because we have such a spectrum of who we are and what we think, because we value the individual. And that becomes a problem when a collective is needed to organize. So that first thing is that they don't believe in childhood innocence. They think that those who impose innocence on kids are abusing them.
So is this why I think I think that the trans individuals who attack schools are attacking schools because of media rhetoric. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and that plays a part in it, but ultimately they are built up. So it's the whole thing, the whole wokeism is basically a religion. And the people who are willing to go so far as to mutilate their bodies, there are people who are allies, and they're basically putting the lamb's blood against their door and saying, please don't come for me. Please, please, please. I'll say whatever you want. I'll act however you want. Right? It doesn't matter how I feel behind closed doors. But this is what I think.
Progressivism is undoubtedly a religion. And they're just an offshoot.
The highest level, the priests, those who should be venerated, are the people who are willing to transform themselves. Also, oftentimes these kids have another link, and that's autism.
Yeah, that's a big draw. And I wonder if I've often wondered if autism draws people in because they're already kind of outsiders, just because their mind works in a different way than everyone else. So that automatically makes them so that they seek out that group. Because I think, again, 30 years ago, autistic people would have found themselves playing Magic the Gathering or playing Dungeons and Dragons and building a group around that like we used to. And that's not to say that this is where it gets spicy. So the conservatives demonized those things as well back then. And so maybe demonizing trans is a bad thing, though I think the difference is with the trans movement, when it comes to its culmination and they start changing their body in negative ways, that's where it lies different. If they just said, I'm going to wear a skirt to school, that would be one thing. I'm going to dress as a woman. That would be one thing. But when they start changing themselves, but then again, I think even if they started, let's say they started sexually exploring with their friends into something that they probably wouldn't have found their way into otherwise, I think that would be a negative thing too, because we all know, even the men, if you do that sexual matters can cause shame later on in life when you find your balanced life. You know, things you did when you were younger that now you think are wrong, that can have a negative effect on your thought process. But that's just me spitballing stuff out.
Okay, so autism is generally considered special needs, generally getting an IEP, all of these things. Okay, so oftentimes r- really needing to see a counselor, having a guidance counselor in your life. Difference between a guidance counselor and these new school counselors equaling social justice. A lot of times this special ed room has like the pride flags in them, and they're pushing this stuff on the kids. And the reason why is because you get concrete thinkers who they don't, it's not like taking a 17-year-old boy and saying, now everything that you believe, we're going to change your mind about in the next year. Because those boys are like, you know what, bite me. It's not happening.
Oh, they're
But
rebellion. The only way you can
exactly.
change it is to say, we're going to make you think exactly the same way you do now. They will automatically change to be something different.
Yes. And so they're dealing with that. So there's a huge there's a wave towards focusing on the middle school kid, but also towards the special needs kids. So they bring in the special needs kids, but see, once they get services for the special needs kids, they argue that because of COVID, all of our children have been trauma impacted, meaning they need the same kind of services, the same kind of care, the same kind of, quite frankly, indoctrination that they're getting in the special needs classes. I just interviewed an autistic boy. Now, when it comes to how I feel about the trans movement, I really truly do not care. I probably would prefer not for it not to be in my life, but I'm not going to go fight you if
Mm-hmm.
you're over 21 and you're making your decisions. It's your life.
Yeah,
But if you're
I
bringing that
don't
into
care.
children, if you're bringing that into kids who don't even know, I mean, they're still having accidents at school and needing to call home, and you're bringing that to those age kids and telling them this is the new truth, then we have a huge issue. And so, and then going back to his parents, so you get this huge issue. You want to tell your child the truth, and someone, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a counselor, maybe it's your bishop, is telling you, you know, the only way to protect your child is to affirm them. The only way to be kind. Probably the most disgusting thing I've heard is the progressive Christians saying, well, Jesus loves all, so you need to be loving. Well, I would argue that being loving is telling a child, I know you want to be a pirate, but no, you can't cut off your leg.
Mm-hmm.
It'll pass.
I agree. Well, and also it's got to be tough because they're in Minnesota. Their governor has come out and said, they've made that a protected class. So even if the parents weren't into supporting that, they're under threat from the state if they don't.
Someone just said, what day did you wake up and decide you were straight? I don't even
What
know.
day did Neener Puss, what day did I wake up and decide I was straight? Boy, that's a tough one. I'll tell you a story. My mom, God rest her soul, used to tell this story and she got a hoot out of it. When I was in preschool, we were making dioramas, where you cut pictures out of whatever magazines and turned them in. And so I'm 4, little 4-year-old savage running around. And everyone else's diorama was, whatever, horses, and, Allison down the street probably did horses and roses and stuff. Mine was bras and cigarettes.
At 4 years old? Oh my gosh. Oh,
So
wow.
I
You
can
knew who you
honestly
were.
say, straight from the start.
Well, and that's one of the things, this children know who they are at an early age. That's why they want to bring queer theory in as early as possible, because that 4-year-old can tell you, I'm a boy and I don't like to play with girls because girls are icky.
I want to ask
And
Neener Puss a question, though.
okay.
So if I was 4, and obviously bras were on my mind and cigarettes, should my mother have supported me on those? Should she have maybe got me a pack of Marlboros, maybe some Camel studs? Should she have maybe taken me down to, I don't know, back then it would have probably been JCPenney or whatever, and wandered me through the ladies' dressing room, seeing if I can't catch a sight. And that's what you got to ask yourself. What my mom did
profound.
was she was awful ashamed because this was a church preschool. And she was awful ashamed of it. And I'm sure she laughed, but I'm sure she wasn't pleased. Children who know they are at a very early age, but
they do.
It's a lot of drinking. Savage equals male. Ooh, so just being male makes you a savage. And I am undoubtedly a savage. I mean, I spent most of the day yesterday out making sure my rifles were ready for my upcoming hunt, because I'm going to go out. I'm going to try to harvest my animals, and I'm going to try to eat what I harvest because I'm a savage.
Well, I don't like the really strong stereotypes. First off, I really hate the idea of toxic masculinity, because we are weakening our men, and we're doing it on purpose, because weak men will not stand up. Going back to the Scotland girl, weak men will not.
Yeah, we got to roll into that subject soon.
Yes.
Well, let's go ahead and read some comments and then roll into that.
Sure. Okay.
So David over on the Books of Faces says, is it illegal to live in your car in Tooele? Tooele is the city I live in. Some places around here it is illegal, and he lives down in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know. Legal and illegal only comes with enforcement. And I think if you could probably live in your car anywhere, as long as you don't make it obvious, and don't get caught. That means sleeping where no one cares, no one looks. We would have to do away with schools if that tax base is lost. He's talking about when we talked earlier about how the boomers are doing away with property taxes on themselves. And no, they're just going to take more taxes lower down. And then if they did away with all property taxes, we'd have to figure out a different way to pay for the schools. I don't know. Everyone knows that I am a blabbering idiot most of the time, so I don't have the answers for that, but I'm sure there's other answers.
I think people need to ask the question, why do they want a bankrupt society? A bankrupt society cannot, it cannot stand. It cannot defend itself. It will bow the knee.
You know what? You can't have a central bank and not have a bankrupt society, though. So everyone live with that. And when I say bankrupt, I mean not morally bankrupt. I mean central banks always print money, which devalues the currency, which runs into debts, which here we are. And it's happened every time. I mean,
yes. I'm looking at this. Can you decorate? So that's the thing. There are Boy Scouts who know how to sew. And that doesn't necessarily make them gay.
I can sew, very limited. I learned how to sew when I was young. And then also you learn how to sew when you're in the military service. There's this whole patch thing you got to put on. Yes. Can I decorate? All I got to say. Right. Outstanding decorator. Can I dress and groom fashionably? There it is. You wanted to look at women in bras.
And
yes,
how about your mother?
I did.
Was it your mother? Was your mother the first person you saw in a bra? Probably.
Well, probably 100%.
Right.
Now, Neenerpuss, you said something there that's very apropos. The boomer bubble will bust and debt will soar quickly. When the boomer bubble busts, it's going to do a whole bunch. I mean, it's probably going to, when the boomers pass, I'm a doomer. When the boomers pass, all that housing is going to go to their children. And so that's going to change what our economy looks like overnight. It's going to be a wild ride. It's
You're not
going to,
watching. I'm sorry, but you're not watching the UK. The UK is getting rid of inheritance.
yeah,
They're taxing people into oblivion.
because they think they're doing that to go after their aristocratic class, but their aristocratic class is rather small and isn't going to make up for anything. So
No, because they're
it's,
going after farmers.
well,
They're
yes,
taking
but
they're taking their property.
they're
And
arguing for it under the aristocratic class. The
okay,
farming class, it's they're going to be so done. They're going to be England's everyone. Great Britain is dead, but we'll roll into that. Neener Puss
yes,
says we have fiat currency. Our money is worth what the government says it's worth, no matter how much is printed. That is true. Everyone,
yeah,
I'm going to say it right now. Everything is a fiction. Everything. And it only stands as long as you believe in it. Our government is a fiction, and it only exists as long as the majority believes in it, right or wrong, negative or positive. It only exists. Religions are a fiction. And I think religion's good. I do. I 100%. I'm an atheist that supports religion. I think
okay,
go to church. Keep going to church. I support it. I fight to keep churches from being taxed. But it is a fiction that only exists as long as people believe in it. If every day, if everyone tomorrow woke up and says, I no longer believe in a higher power, religions go away right then. Remember, Zoroastrianism is gone.
okay. So Alexis de Tocqueville would have agreed with you, but
Yes, he would have.
He would still say that churches are mightily important in keeping
Very
communities
important.
together. But here's the thing that I'm concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
Progressivism creeps into churches and it
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally changes what they believe, what they've believed, and what's worked. What's worked. Okay, so for me, I am a non-denominational Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's not about religion. So I'm not obedient to any man. Whether or not I pay an offering is up to me. Nobody needs to know. I'm not obedient to a man's words. I don't
Oh, I
think
know
that my
which man's
president does.
obedient to you, though.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true. That's
Whoops,
that's very
dog.
true. When he was 4, he drew a picture of a girl with curly hair and glasses. That was his
See,
picture of who
we know what he was onto. He found it right away. Now, me, I'm not surrounded by bras, and I did go through my phase where I smoked cigarettes. I do not anymore.
yeah.
But that's
Religion
you've got to
controls the
look at
masses, sure. But the
it
problem
is
is when religion is so right now, right before Donald Trump won the election, there was something called the after party that was coming out, and it was funded by our largest, not Gates, but the ones who have the library. So large atheist philanthropists were funding something called the after party. They were going to create Bible studies in churches, Bible studies to teach people how to accept the new way of being now that there was no longer a political party and we were
well,
all one, which is
I
frightening.
see progressivism fighting against Christianity just like I see Islam fighting against Judaism. It's just, to me, it's one religion. Progressivism is a religion. It has its priests. It has its stipend you must pay. It's tithing, whatever you call it. It has its founding documents. It has all of that, and that's all I see it. Okay. By the way, over 1,500 species of animals have members that form pair bonds. Only one species worships a higher power. Well, we don't know that. We don't know. I know my dog worships, well,
Me.
my girlfriend. She used to worship me. Now she worships my girlfriend. But do they worship a higher power or do they not? We don't know that. We don't know. But there's also, God, I wish I remembered this poem. But it's a poem of how to get through suffering. But it talks about how the animal, the frozen bird on the on the mast will suffer the freeze where a human would not. A human would give up and die, and the bird doesn't understand giving up. So does that come with knowing yourself or
when
sentience?
I think of what America is about, and I do a lot. I mean, that's what I do with Utah Moms for America. What I do is I think, all right, what is it that makes America exceptional? What truly makes America exceptional? And to me, going all the way back to Alexis de Tocqueville, is first, we believe in redemption. That is something that being a Christian nation we believe in, which means, and this is why I am a conservative, is because we believe that people can change. We believe that there is a whole new way of living your life. You can repent and you can be a new person. Okay? In France, when they rolled out the guillotine, they did not care whether or not you were a good person. If your bloodline followed this, goodbye head. So there was no redemption. In China,
it wasn't
people run
just
because they
if
don't
your
get to be
bloodline.
humans. Yeah, but
I mean, many times the French arrested someone they thought was someone else, and
that's true too.
they arrested a woman. She was I'm trying to remember. I think she was a baker, and they thought she was a servant of the queen. And this was months later. Yeah. And they arrested her and they brought her there and they found out that she was a baker. Had never been in the royal, any of that. She was a starving, whatever.
Right.
And they said, and I quote, well, we've got her here. So they
were
laid her on the deck.
But that's what I mean. So religion can be that. If religion teaches you how to be good, then you need to be very concerned about who defines what good is.
Well, okay. Yes, religion can teach you that. Religion can also teach you not good. And I believe that you don't have to have religion to have any of those things.
That's true.
Okay. What I do believe is that religion is good because it bolsters community. Because if you get everyone that lives in the same neighborhood to meet in one building once a week and commune together, it builds community. That's why I'm pro-religion. I am not religious myself. I am most of my I will say some of my family is, my father is, and my stepmother and my grandma. My grandfather was not. One of my uncles is. Two of my uncles are. One of my uncles is not. It's a mixed bag. I was lucky. I grew up in a gray area where religion wasn't forced on us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Neenerpuss says this is not a conservative nation. If you take it issue by issue, it is progressive to libertarian. Progressive is not. It would not be listed as progressive. It's progressive in what you desire, just like it's not technically conservative because remember, they overthrew the Tories to start a new nation. They overthrew the Tories, which was a monarchy party, to instill a Republican Party. Conservatism is just keeping what works. That's how you have to look at it. Progressivism is pushing into try to fix what doesn't. The problem is progressivism commonly doesn't work. But if you read back to the founding of this nation, just the Bill of Rights lays it out. If you read the 9th and 10th Amendment, we are not progressive. Libertarians are the closest. And I'm thinking Neenerpuss is a female, probably because of that comment that says male equals savage, thinking they're female, but it could be a dude, a dude that tucks or whatever, maybe, tucks it real deep, but, does a clench. Anyways, practice that Kegel foo. It's important. Anyways, says religion gives approval to commit atrocities. Yes, in some cases, religion has given approval to commit atrocities, but then again, so has non-religion, i.e. the Holodomor was committed by devout atheists. Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge was committed by avowed atheists.
Yes. Well, and also I would argue that at least my form of Christianity tells me that it doesn't matter how someone treats me. It is my job to offer forgiveness and turn the other cheek multiple times.
Sure.
And so
And
religion can help you be a better person. It can also allow you to commit atrocities. When we have groups that believe that some people shouldn't be allowed to exist, and we go to church and sing louder while that happens, as they did with Hitler, they just sang louder as people got on those trains and went. And so while we have people who are doing that, yeah, religion can be a serious problem. But for me, I consider it to be relationship. And the only being that I listen to are my scriptures and for me, I would say the Holy Spirit, but that's what I am.
Good.
That's my belief.
Good.
Yeah.
Neenerpuss says that they're not a woman. They say nope. And I imagine that goes to the male to female comment, and says, I don't tuck. Okay, good. Let it swing. Let it swing low. Bruise your knees. I like it.
I don't need to know. Okay.
UK conservatism is different. UK conservatism is very different. And I think that's because UK conservatism is also kind of globalist.
If we go into the Christian Crusades, then we have to go into the Muslim Crusades. There were about 13 Christian Crusades. There were hundreds.
Yeah, that's just back and forth. That was cultural war. It is back and forth. It's cultural war. Shall we talk about the Muslims conquering, or not the Muslims, the Mongols conquering?
How about the
everyone.
Ottoman Empire? The Ottoman Empire went, and the
Huns
little boys. They looked for little boys who were pretty, and they made them eunuchs.
Yeah.
So there's that. And they did all sorts of other things to them that the
Barbary pirates did with their slaves up until today. DB Cooper says it's school teachers. Yeah, I think school has become a means for progressivism, and it
has for sure.
It's really damaging the value of the schools.
But I hate to say it's the school teachers, because there's a ton who don't even know. There are so many. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Dave over on the Book of Faces talks about back to the boomers and economic wealth. He says Bitcoin was the only chance to take wealth from the old and transfer it to the young. Maybe, I don't know. I think Bitcoin would have been a neutral in that status, because it could have also stolen from the young and taken it to the old. I think it could have worked either way. I don't think it was coded to have a direct partition. I do like the idea that it eliminated the Federal Reserve from the equation of holding money. But again, it was still a fiction. Bitcoin only carried value as long as people believed in it. And the minute people didn't believe in it or thought it was dangerous and started selling it, Bitcoin would plummet. Everything in this world you have is a fiction. All these entities that are built up are a fiction all the time.
Maybe, but I still think that having faith can give you a great amount of peace.
I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just stating what it is. He says there seems to be a pattern. The Uvalde shooter was trans. The Denver shooter was trans, Georgia shooter was trans, Nashville shooter was trans, Colorado shooter trans, Alberta trans, Minnesota trans, Iowa gender fluid. Okay, way to break the bank, Iowa. Change it up. And then Philadelphia shooter trans. I heard someone said it was actually a left-wing show saying, well, trans have only committed 8% of the school shootings in the last 3 years or something like that. And I was like, wow. And they're only 0.05% of the populace. So they're shooting way above their weight.
Right. No, I think there's also an argument that the medication that they're on. So you've got the medication,
Yes.
you've got the constant think about yourself, think about yourself, think about yourself. The whole world is against you. There are people, I just saw something today that said, "Are you triggered yet?" And it had a trans person with a giant gun. But then I heard a politician say, we need to do what Australia is doing when it comes to guns. So they're blaming the guns, and
Oh,
they're
of
saying,
course.
do not look at this group of people that are on, is it SSRI? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Didn't RFK just say he wants to look into what drugs that individual was on and maybe research maybe the 2247 may change later on to ask if you're on an SSRI, and maybe you'll have to go get signed off by your doctor
Let's move it
to
back into mental health, because we took that out. We took it out of being a mental health disorder. And
yeah.
the fact is that if you live in that kind of delusion, you do have a mental health disorder. And that doesn't mean we should be jerks to you. We should give you the help that you need, but you're not going to get that in the majority of mental health clinics today. And that I know for a fact, because I'm friends with the whistleblowers from all of these clinics.
They got bullied to take it out of the whatever
Yes, they
DMCA
did.
or whatever.
Yes.
David says, I envision a world without government. It is similar to our ancestors who envisioned a world without slavery. Yes, it is.
Sounds a bit like Marx.
I am happy. No, that sounds a lot like, well, maybe Marx, but I would say more Bakunin.
That one.
Yeah, he was. Everyone should read up on Bakunin. He was Marx if Marx had testicles.
Since the very beginning, same as medication.
But
same medication as menopause. Well, being that I just had a birthday, yes, I do know what hormone replacement therapy. I did not know that, but seeing as I just had a birthday, I'm very hesitant to take any kind of a medication. I'd rather just take my little vitamins and, eat a little less. And except for chocolate. But I think that once you know, and we do have a pattern, and the only people who say that we don't have a pattern are the same people who've said that we couldn't even use the term. I started talking about the detransitioning movement probably 4 years ago when I first moved to Utah. And in my own small community in Payson, people said that I was harmful, that it was harmful to even have the discussion. And the fact is that those are the kids who are most likely, like that boy said, that the person that you call SB. Yes. Yeah. Like he said, he tricked himself into it, and he said, I won't cut my hair because that would be failure. That's how a lot of people are living their lives. They are living their lives with parts of their bodies missing, looking in the mirror. There are people who come out of the hospital, look in the mirror and go, what the hell did I do? And they're living with it because they've told their parents, you don't love me if you don't let me do this.
They've probably disassociated themselves from their family, from groups, from communities that they should remain part of.
Sometimes they control their families. That's the kindest way I can put it. But they control their families. And so everybody in the family is told, you'll get messages. We've gotten them. You get the message. Such and such goes by this name now. We ask you to use this name. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I won't do it. I won't do it because too many detransition.
Also in Minnesota, you've got the force of government enforcing it.
Yes.
Chad says, go Chiefs.
Too. Yeah. Hi, Chad.
Chad says, go Chiefs. Okay, I want to lay this out. Chiefs. Okay. Why are you saying go Chiefs? I thought you were a Seahawks fan, Chad. Chad is from up where your old stomping ground area. Anyways.
Yes.
So, the detransitioner thing is, they have been abused and everything else. But so probably 4 years, I'll bet if you go back to my earliest shows, you can hear me say this. 5 years ago, I was saying, in a decade, we're going to see family annihilations because of parental support for the mutilation.
Yes.
And maybe I was
100%.
wrong.
It's already happened. It happened. Was it in our state where
I don't know, but I think
yes,
maybe we're going to see these community annihilations from it. From the
it's
support.
two separate things. Okay, it's two separate things. The family is, why didn't anyone tell me the truth?
Oh, no, you know what a family annihilation is?
When they're killing their families?
When they kill their whole family.
Yes. Or at least their mother and father.
We're going to start, I still believe we're going to start seeing that, but maybe we're going to see it. I didn't predict it would be all these regretful transes taking their violence out on innocents on the world stage.
On children?
Yes.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying it's two different things. One is to remove childhood innocence. One is because they hate Christians. You want to talk about a hate crime? I think I told you this last time. There are books currently in our libraries in the middle school section that actually are called Pray the Gay Away. I'm sorry, backwards. No, backwards.
Gay the Pray Away?
Gay the Pray Away.
Yeah.
And they're about girls that are, or not just girls, because it's a series of books, but they're about young people who are in Christian cults with conservative parents and don't recognize they're in a cult until they meet a handsome or beautiful young person, and they run away, and they have to decide, do they want to run away from their families who are unaccepting of them? This is freaking change the religion to anybody else, especially a certain religion that is known for being oppressive to women.
Yeah, we saw that play out. We saw that play out in Iowa a month ago, where the dad and the mom were trying to kill the daughter out on the street.
I did not see this. I know that we've had our first gang situation like the UK has, and people were calling and saying, this is a good family man, stole a 12-year-old right out of their backyard. And the thing is that, like, I'm seeing some of these comments, and I will not respond to leftist talking points. I just won't. So if somebody, 1%, whatever, I'm sorry. I've watched well over 100 videos of detransitioners. I've heard their stories. I've heard their anguish. I've heard them have to go to their families.
Okay, let's go. Neener puss. Belief, I think you meant belief in God is a mental illness. I don't believe so. I believe belief in God is completely natural. It's completely normal for humans. They've commonly carried this on through. I think not belief in God is a rarity. I don't see either as a mental illness, but that's just me.
You know who does?
And you can believe
Russia.
Sure, but you can believe what you want. If you believe it's a mental illness, that's fine. It is one thing. The reason the Soviets outlawed God was because if you believed in God, you held something above the state.
Exactly.
And that's my problem with progressives is they hold the state to be the ultimate on earth.
Well,
so
when they held someone,
and so they've just added a different God. Their God is the state. Well, and it's just a different God.
People, when they could make people believe that belief in God, and we saw it. We saw some more radical leftists making these kind of comments before the last election. There were people there was a guy on PBS who said that all conservative parents should have their children taken away. This is repeating history. They're in Russia, they hospitalized Christians. They tortured them. They hospitalized them. They put their kids in orphanages.
The lucky
That's
ones.
What happens when you, yes.
The lucky ones were hospitalized. And then they say Somalia has no government and is the most lawless country on earth. You're probably correct. I would argue it has multiple little governments. I mean, you got Somaliland in the north. You got the Farhid out in the Horn and Mogadishu area. It's more of a tribal situation right now. That's what happens when you have a government that tries leaning into socialism, and they well, not leaning in. So they tried growing close um, with both sides of the Cold War at the same time. And it kind of broke them up. A lot of corruption happened there. I would argue that's why Afghanistan went into their civil war that caused the Russian invasion as well. But that's just me. Less than 1% of all trans are unhappy with their transition. You'd have to show me proof on any numbers, whether you're going to say happy with it or unhappy. You have to show proof. And it would have to be a detailed study, not just asking a tranny right after they got it done, are you unhappy with this?
Yeah.
Time will tell. I'm not going to make any comment either way, because only a crazy person would make a comment about that this early in the game.
I do think that the way they did it in Norway, though, where they make you have so much therapy, and I think you are not able to do it until you're about 25 years old.
Well, Europe's done away with doing it to kids. All of Europe.
Right.
The Cass report came out, and they had a gasp across Europe, said, we were doing what? And they shut it down for kids. So I believe therapy for children who have confusion, if they're young and they're gay, let them grow in that, and then decide once they've decided, once they can pay their own taxes.
You'll also have to gut therapy. You'll have to gut therapy, because a lot of therapists are teaching.
That's a different conversation for a different time.
Okay.
Abused and shunned after transitioning, maybe. I don't know. I know the people in my family and extended family and friend group that have gone through this. I didn't shun or abuse them, and I don't know anyone that did. But could be. I don't know. I'm not going to say. I'm not everywhere and everyone. Only a ridiculous person would try to argue a point of absolutes. Family unsupportive. 90% of trans lose their entirely family, not by choice. Again, I would need to see evidence. Conversion therapy, Christian love. But you can't do it the other way. I can control the state. I can't control someone's mass delusion. I would like to see anyone think that they can control the state. That didn't work for anyone ever. And tranny is derogatory. Don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to fall into you hurt my feelings. I don't fall into that. I'm going to say it how I want. You're going to have to deal with it. If you want me to deal with whatever delusions you're carrying, deal with mine. In US, it's illegal to have plastic surgery under 18 years old. No, it is not. It's illegal to do it I think it's illegal to do it in most states or all states under 18-year-olds without a parent's signature. It has been done, though. And then if you live in a state where they say you've got to support it, or we're going to put the power of the state behind taking your children away from you, that's another burden on top of it. Yes. Now, back to the controlling the state. I'm an avid Second Amendment supporter and practitioner. I was until the boating accident, sadly. Simply because I believe that's the only way to control your state. Being armed. Most important bill we have.
Fallen.
The most important bill we have is the First Amendment. Again, why I will say what I want. The second most important is the one that gives it teeth, the Second Amendment. Yes. All right, back over to Facebook. Then we got to talk about Scotland Girl. Okay, Facebook's same. All right, Scotland Girl. This young lady, Boudica. Boudica was, and I pulled it up so that I can talk about Boudica. Boudica was queen of the ancient British Iceni tribe, who led a failed uprising against the conquering forces of the Roman Empire in AD 60 or 61. Bam. Considered a British national heroine. So right now, this young lady is the Scottish Boudica. It's sad. So Great Britain, you had all these stories come out. I want to say this. Great Britain's leadership, all of their leadership, their king on through all of their parliamentarians, their bureaucrats, especially their school of policing, have all leaned into this progressive mindset. It is honestly, it's that globalism. You can have, actually, I shouldn't say, because you can have progressive in either way. The Soviet Union was extremely conservative. For Eastern Europe, that was how communism was, a conservative religion in Eastern Europe. Communism's a very progressive, left-coded religion here in the USA, because our individualist nature makes us immediately more rugged, where communism takes on that feminine coded over here, where over there communism is masculine, because it's brutalist, it's tough. So anyways, you hear these stories I've been hearing for a while, like the Rotherham story, where the police, like a 14-year-old, the gangs start picking them up at schools, you know, and what would be a freshman year or even 8th grade year, start picking them up outside of schools and enticing them in. And they're the poorest of the poor people. I mean, they're like not even working class. They live on what would be Section 8 housing over here. They call them council estates over there. Right. And they pick them up and they start dosing him with drugs and love bombing him. And then next thing you know, they start passing them around. And some of them were passed between different cities. And the abuse happened. And then when instances that they got caught, either because the girls said this happened to me, or parents went to try to rescue the girls, the police would arrest the girls and the parents and let these guys go for years and years. And that was, I believe, the leadership in Great Britain is sacrificing their poorest people on the altar of progressivism.
Yes. Well, and also, I mean, it's DEI. They are afraid of being called racist.
Yes, but the police went so hard aggressive into it. I think it's more than just being afraid of being called racist. I think they believe it, like how most of our teachers are taught these radical ideas. I think their police
are less than others. That some people are less than others and not worthy of basic. I mean, there have been situations where these girls have went with their pants covered in blood.
Yes. Well, they've been killed. They've been lit on fire. They've been murdered. No, it's modern day progressivism has taught us that the more melanin, the less wealth you have, whatever, the higher value you have. And so they look at it as the British white girl. She's automatically had an easier life, regardless of how poor she is, than these economic immigrants coming over. So we're going to support them because they need our support more. Not the innocent girl. We're not going to.
Well, and did you watch the video where they're taunting her and saying, "Show me the knife, show me the knife"?
Yes, they've been following these two. The girl is
they're laughing
13,
about it.
And her sister that's with her is 14. These are babies.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
I actually think that it's 14 and 12, but yes.
Or 14 and 12, whatever. Now, I want to say this. Great Britain, I apologize for saying this. Y'all are a bunch of pussies. You gave up your man card. You all need to tuck right now. That's it. End of discussion. Until your men stand back up. Do not. Well, here's the deal. I understand why you do, because you let them take your guns 20 years ago. That killed you. You let them take your means to defend yourself from the government 20 years ago, and now you're stuck. You guys got to fight that back. You got to figure that out. Earn it. I don't care.
So then what is our excuse? When I heard this little girl, it reminded me of why I decided to run for office, because a young woman said to me, us kids know something is wrong. The more they push inclusivity, the more divided we are in our schools. We know it. When are the adults going to stand up for us? And that is what I've seen over and over in my district. We've got a janitor who's been accused of 5
I know.
assaults.
I read up
5
on that
assaults.
after you told me.
Nothing is being said. Nothing is being said. Nothing is being done.
Didn't he just?
Why? Because they're the poor rural white people, and he happens to be Latin.
Well,
So nothing,
okay.
at least for that reason. That's at least one reason. But nothing is being done. So we can say, oh, those British people, they're so weak. But I'm so sorry, but that's what I see here too.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
When we are
Well,
fine with letting our kids go in and be forced to do compelled speech, when they get bullied in classes, when they lose their cell phones because, yeah, there are kids who absolutely abuse them, but now they can't record. And then it comes down to a district who has no problem lying their butts
ooh,
off.
do you think that's why they took the cell phones away?
Oh, here's the thing. I knew it beforehand, and then all of a sudden, we started seeing the teachers' handbooks, and our kids started being told, if you record anything with any sort of device, you are automatically expelled from school.
Well,
Meanwhile,
okay.
we can have
If cell
drugs and
phones,
sex in school.
if cell phones are illegal, are GoPros legal?
You can have no recording device. That's literally in the handbook, and
So
they
it's
never said it
it's
beforehand.
not about
They said it
them.
was about mental health, and they said it was about the distraction, and they're not learning, which I would agree. I agree with that
Oh,
because I've been in the classrooms, I've seen it. But
what if it is
why?
only about so that they can silo
You
off
try
their little
telling a
class?
reporter what's going on. You try telling a reporter what's going on without proof.
That's
It's
interesting.
not, they won't pick up the story unless every single time. Do you have video evidence of that? They will not
That's
until without the video proof.
that's
So
interesting.
so
Diener,
kids are being told, stand up for yourselves. Why should kids have to stand up when adults aren't willing to do it? And
that's
they're
right.
not. They're afraid of losing their jobs. I've had parents call me and say, I'm going to tell you the story. Don't use my name. Don't say anything about me. We live in an affluent area. I don't want to be targeted. And you're just like, it's your kids. It's literally your kids.
That's pretty insane.
And
That is
that's right here.
that is insane. Well, and progressivism has made its way into Utah through our education system. That's how progressivism got everywhere. I mean, they called it the Long March Through the Institutions.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's what the Frankfurt School came and wrote that paper talking specifically, we're going to get there through the education system.
Yes. Yes. That's 100% how they did it. And the thing is, like I was saying today, I was talking to a teacher, and the teacher didn't understand the depths of social and emotional learning. She just, for her, and I actually really respected the conversation because I finally got a glimpse into what teachers are thinking, and they're like, it's just a waste of time. That's all she's thinking. Why would we focus on problems when we could help kids advance academically and feel proud about themselves? But they don't understand the depth. Go ahead.
Let me tell you what's happening because of this. And I'm noticing this in young men in my neighborhood, and I got to keep coaching them out of it. Young men, 16, 15 is the age when you start rebelling. So these are high school boys. And there's certain places they all go park their cars and hang out and smoke their vapes and, and every one of them has a little idolization of the Nazi Party. Every one of them. And I've got to sit down and talk to them and tell them, but they're rebelling. And all they've learned forever is, this.
Kanye West.
It's
when a black
Kanye
man
West.
can say it, when a black man can say it, they feel that it's been popularized, and yeah, I understand. I mean,
it's crazy. Like, I just had a conversation with a young man today. Now, this is a young man that's not in that group that's idolizing them. He's a young man that's wondering about it. And also this young man is also gay, which puts him into a different group than but it's there. It's honest now. It's the rebellion, the woke Icarus and flew too high to the sun, and it's coming back. And a lot of the same thing happened at the end of the last pendulum swing when the conservatives kind of blew the doors out with their trying to force intelligent design in biology class. That killed the conservative holding any kind of sway in the culture for a while. Though right now we just watched the progressives do that with this latest push. And, so I'm sorry, Neener Push, you're just going to have to sit there and watch as that pendulum arcs back. But don't worry, wait 20 years, it'll arc again. The conservatives will do another stupid thing.
Well, I think that we can.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. So the whole time the conservatives are coming to the end of that pendulum swing, they're calling everything communist. Everything. And that pendulum swing ended at about 2005. And then it started going back. And so what is the thing that the progressives openly brought back? Was communism.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You saw the outskirts of the progressives. It openly came back. It was never there through the 90s. Didn't exist through the 90s. That pendulum has just apexed on the left, and now it's coming back to the right. And what is openly brought back? The ultimate boogeyman for the progressives. And we're going to watch it. Now, I'm going to sit back and watch it. I'm an old man. I get it. I've lived through a couple of these pendulum swings. These last couple swings have been a little more erratic and a little harder than before, but that's all signs of a society in free fall. But it happens. We might recover. I mean,
I don't think we recover from global communism. And this is what I'm concerned about, because
you know why I think
do believe in the terms. Go ahead.
You know why I think okay, we may not recover. It depends on if we adopt it. Communism is defunct. It doesn't work. Communism would work great if it didn't have humans involved in it. Communism's a great plan if there's no humans there. If there's no people who have any kind of thoughts for themselves, which is why it didn't work in the Soviet Union, which is why China wisely liberalized and opened up their markets a little bit. And that was the largest growth of people out of poverty in history. And China's authoritarian, whatever, but they liberalized, just liberalizing their markets. It made that big of a difference. It's wild. I mean, you can't argue when you see it right there. Well, things get unequal. Yes, the world is unequal. It was awful unequal under communism too. It just was and always will be. It's unequal no matter what you do. At least, just like if you have a religious state, the only way to wealth is to become a priest. And if you have a communist state, the only way to wealth is to be a member of the party. The world is a global community. Yeah, I don't know. Tell that to, anyone who's committing an atrocity against anyone else. I mean, good luck. Spousal abuse is tough and rugged too. No, I think men who abuse their spouses are weak. I'm going to say this outright. If you raise your hand to your spouse, I don't spank my kids. I would never spank a spouse. And if you do that, it's not a sign of tough and rugged. It's a sign of weakness. I don't even yell in my house. Yes, and no one else is allowed to raise their hand to another person in my house. What is woke? Woke is the ideal that came down. It's the Paulo Freire movement writ large. It's where if you're darker skin, that means you have had it harder, so we need to give you more value on the community level. If you're poorer, you've had it harder, we need to give you more value. If you if you've had worse grades, we need to give you more value. That's what woke is.
Kind of only if you speak the approved narrative. So if you are darker skinned
Oh,
and you don't speak the approved narrative, you actually find yourself so far out,
you
like
get pushed
shunning you.
onto the
So
outside.
how I would describe woke is woke means that it gives you permission to have a group to hate.
Ooh,
It gives
yes, that's a good
that's
way. Or it gives you
because that's like
permission.
how I say. That's like I agree with actually the term, and Adam doesn't, but I do agree with the term woke right and woke left.
Woke is the crusaders for the progressives.
Woke are the people who
They're the violent.
absolutely. So I would argue that the Nazis were woke. They believed they were enlightened, and if they could just clear out the riffraff, they could dominate. The same thing. Progressives believe the same thing. Their riffraff just happens to be the poor, not the poor dependent class, but the poor working class that's trying to work their way up. They become the out class. And that tends to be people with Judeo-Christian values who believe in, hard work and putting your shoulder to the wheel, etc. So if you are a group that literally believes that it's okay to hate people, you're probably woke in some way or another. And other people might not agree with that, but that's what I have seen. I have seen people who have said, we just automatically hate these people. I don't hate somebody by who they sleep with. I might not be interested. In fact, I'm not. I'm interested in who I sleep with, and that's one person.
I dislike people who want to make it my business, who want to force their sex onto me. I don't want to have someone come up to me and have a picture of a selfie of their genitalia on their phone and go, "Hey, look at my crotch." I don't want that. I don't care.
And I don't want them to be able to have the kind of power that says I can't go to the grocery store. I don't want them to have the kind of power. I'll be more specific than that. We almost passed, and if you ask ChatGPT, it will actually say it hasn't passed yet, the Equality Act. And we have to be so careful with words because the Equality Act sounds great. But what happens is someone comes into your church and your pastor says something that they don't like. They can say, I feel offended, and your church can get closed down. That's what we were about to pass. And it was based Mike Lee who stopped it from passing.
Can I do that in schools then?
You can't do a thing because you are a far right toxic white male.
But I'm not. I'm not far right.
But that's what our friend Mr. Schott likes to say, right?
Oh yeah.
So I am like this much left of center. So I am a person who can listen to anybody's point of view, but I may not respect you, I may not like you, but I'm still going to listen to you and believe that you deserve the basic dignity of being spoken to. Now, if we don't get into so we got into Scotland Girl, we got into Minnesota.
Well, we didn't talk about it. So she was just a young girl being followed around by some adult migrants. And she was like, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I've got a knife. They show us the knife. She pulled the knife out, pulled out a hatchet, which is awesome. I mean, she's packing both of them. She's like, and right or wrong, she, to me, looks like she has been abandoned by masculinity in Great Britain.
100%.
And that's all I got to say. So Great Britain, you know what? You guys are all, I don't know, country of big old wussies.
But so are we.
So I don't know.
The West overall.
We have to wait and see if we start having grooming gangs go around and men aren't standing up for them. Because I'd say we're not. Because when that Muslim was trying to kill his daughter, it was men that jumped out and tackled him. Daniel Penny in the UK, on the subway. You just don't get that in the UK.
No.
Now Germany had
a man who pulled his pants down and was standing on the bus and letting everything hang out, and some blokes took him down. I think they might have been arrested for it, but they did take him down because they are arrested because we have a 2-tier justice system.
KKK was based out of churches. That's a good one, Neener Puss. KKK was based out of the House of the Democrats. That was a militarized unit of the Democrats. The KKK, to be a member of the KKK, you had to be a Democrat. That was
You also,
an
I thought it was
absolute.
a Baptist and a Methodist minister who were the first, whatever,
The Grand
Wizard
Dragons.
people.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
But I'll
anything
tell you
about
who,
that because I
you
do know
wanna
that the
who Biden's
KKK.
mentor was? There's so many.
Well, I do know that the KKK lynched a handful of white Republicans as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah. There was lots of, oh my gosh. There's so much of history that people don't know. Somebody had talked about slavery before. I want to encourage anybody who wants to know about slavery to go look up Anthony Johnson. And that's all I'll say about that, because
Yeah.
that's not what we got on here for. But
Yes. Okay.
But there's-
Anyway, so
yeah.
we talked. I've berated England enough. Fight for your guns back, and then fight for your daughters. Period. Don't let your daughters become abuse victims for savages on the rest of the world. You be the savage that protects them. Okay, what was the next subject we wanted to talk about? We're getting close to time here. We wanted to talk about. Oh, goodness
I
gracious!
think we have this little one about how many Asian students.
Yes, that was
Right?
it. I just pulled it back up.
Yeah.
So Trump is talking about he wants to keep the visas for the Chinese coming in. And I've heard some arguments of people saying, well, that's a huge lump of money that goes into the colleges that, I don't know.
Okay. Sorry, I'm reading the comments and I'm like,
I know.
you're just talking.
I know.
Okay.
That's an individual
Okay.
that doesn't understand history, but that's okay.
It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I fall on this is that I believe we're full. And I think that having a son who will be of working age soon. I mean, he already works, but out of high school, I think that a lot of our kids are losing hope because jobs aren't going to them, and they don't have any ambition for them because they don't think they're going to be available. That's what I'm hearing kids say. I don't know that that's true, but that's where I'm falling. I also believe very strongly that it is not, I think it is stupid to pretend that communism isn't on our front door. I have just in the last month got to hear Yeonmi Park myself, like be in the room with her, right? So, and she said communism is always on the agenda. Our portrait of a graduate, our global competencies mean that your child will agree with the United Nations goals. If you wonder if that's true, again, go back to Randy Weingarten. Randy Weingarten said, we have just partnered with the World Economic Forum. So she's the president of the Teachers Association, and she just said it in July. We have just partnered with the World Economic Forum. So it's not a lie. It's not hyperbole to say that this stuff is here. I feel bad. Like, even the person who's making these comments just said, well, by the way, both of my parents are teachers. Well, that's a sad commentary on what's happening in education. And I feel bad for the parents who also, that's their understanding. But I was there too. The only reason I'm not there is because of what I choose to put into my head, what I choose to listen to, what I choose to study. It's the only reason I understand this. But so having Chinese students come over here and get a good education, I have to wonder how many of them have nefarious purposes. And I don't know, but I do know that we've elected Donald Trump. Those of us who did, we elected Donald Trump on the idea that immigration would be stopped. And 6,000 more coming in is not stopping. And I want room for actual asylum seekers. I want room for asylum seekers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm also the thing that concerns me about the Chinese students is, wasn't it just last week they arrested another Chinese student from, was it Columbia or Penn State or wherever, for stealing intellectual property and sending it back again. So I think that's a concern. Maybe it depends on the intellectual property. I don't know, but I don't out and out want to make China an enemy of the U.S., but I don't want to trust China completely. So I don't know. That is a
Right.
complicated question. I don't know why
And I
Trump
think it's
is.
okay to have a complicated question. It shows that we're not really as we're branded. Because
Yeah,
I'm not sitting here going, trust the process. I'm like, hello, pay attention.
yeah, that's a
So,
tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know.
but we
I've
also
been listening to arguments on it.
yeah,
I mean, I would say right now where half of Trump's party is saying no, don't do that. I would say he needs to figure out a compromise in the middle.
yeah, maybe. But then on top of that, and I really do want to hit this because I learned it from
I
Mike
got to
Benz when
step out for 1 second, so entertain the people.
Okay.
1 second. I
All
just
right.
got someone just hit the bell.
Sure. Okay. So I was at a conference, and at this conference, I heard from Mike Benz. If you haven't heard about him, I recommend listening to him. You might want to listen to him on double speed because he is a little bit of a slow talker, but he has really good information on what's called digital media literacy. Digital media literacy is required for every one of our children to have, or they cannot graduate. And what you think of as digital media literacy, just like everything else, is that it's really good because our kids are watching the wrong things and they're getting depressed. They're having mental health issues based on what they're watching. But the reality is they're telling you what is appropriate and what isn't. So they're saying NPR and CNN are completely trusted sources, but it gets deeper than that. So there's a company called Arabella, and they're kind of funding, well, they're not kind of, they're funding dark money. You can look it up. Bill Gates just pulled out about $2 billion from one of George Soros's projects. But these groups are the same groups that are controlling how our children think. So it's pretty important that we pay attention to these things, and that we push back. There are policies that say our kids have to do this in order to graduate. So I think that I would highly recommend you look up Mike Benz. And if you look him up, I believe it's called the American Federation. Trump can't compromise because he would admit he was wrong. Maybe. I don't see a narcissist when I see Trump. I see a man who really very much wants to be liked. But okay, so I was just talking a little bit about digital media literacy, and then I went over to Neenerpuss, and he said Trump can't compromise, and I said I see him more as a grandfather figure. Honestly, I do. I see him as a man who wants to be liked. Every person that I know who knows him personally says that he's extremely warm, down to earth. He's just a New Yorker,
I think, and I also think Trump wants to have a legacy of success, regardless of how it goes. That's what he wants. And that's fine. It is what it is. And maybe Trump can't compromise. Sometimes I've noticed that when Trump starts making a move that turns unpopular, he just never speaks of it again and he lets it die on the vine. So maybe, right. I don't know. And again, I don't know what's the right answer. I do know that the Chinese students coming in, like you said, brings a lot of money into the institutions. Now, do I also think that the institutions are holding too much money and charging too much for their classes and kind of taking advantage of our youth? Yes, I do think they are. I think that they need to become more reasonable. What's that?
Yeah. The Confucius Institute. Those are pretty dangerous. They have a very strong communist objective. But see, we're already there. It doesn't matter the right or the left. Both sides want a daddy state. Not a nanny state, a daddy state. They want a father.
Well, they want an overarching state. The average Republican is fine with a strong state as long as it's coded to them. And the Democrats, of course, are fine with a strong state as long as it's coded to them. Look at the very people, the boomers, who marched for free speech in the 60s, the very people, once they became boomers and their ideals were in charge, marched against free speech in their elderly ages. It just depends
I
on
just think
who's in
both
charge.
sides. I just think both sides want somebody to take care of their problems.
Sure.
And that's, I mean, it's so funny because we're constantly being told our children need to be more self-reliant, but they're not. They're extremely reliant on both sides. Oh, Trump is coming. We don't have to worry. We don't have to be involved in anything
Mhm.
locally, community, nothing, because Trump's going to take care of it. Well, guess what? He can't take care of it if he doesn't have people who are pushing their elected officials to do the right thing. And we don't even know that we have a voice to be able to do that. And the other side is like, I want free stuff all the time, everywhere. I shouldn't have to work. Working takes away my dignity. Um, and they want a parent as well. So we have greatly done a disservice to our young people in not preparing them as children that eventually they're going to be adults.
Well, then I blame the Libertarian Party because they just haven't put anyone forward that's worth even looking at. Taco, are they calling Trump Taco now? Is that
I don't
something
know
to do
what
with
that
Trump?
means.
Okay. Tacos are good. I love tacos. There's the 5 million visa Trump created. Yeah, I don't know. And that's Trump hunting for a success because we're running in a deficit all the time. All the time. We're constantly in a deficit. The Republicans haven't done anything to slow down the government spending and the deficit spending. Haven't done anything to do it. The Democrats haven't done anything to do it. And both sides, when they're in the minority, argue against deficit spending. But when they're in the majority, they can't get to vote for it fast enough, except for Thomas Massey. Good looking out,
Right.
big guy. Thomas Massey, he's the person in Congress I trust. I like Rand Paul in the Senate, but Thomas Massey, he's the one I trust in. And Thomas Massey catches flack from both sides, which is kind of where I like to be. If you're catching flack, you're over the target, and Thomas Massey is always over the target. So maybe. So the 5 million visa charge, maybe that'll slow down the deficit. That'll definitely make it so that we don't get people coming over here to go to college where they're coming on a scholarship, I guess. Save those scholarships for us. But I don't know. But most people are not happy about that. The Democrats aren't happy about it. The Democrats aren't happy about it because Trump is supporting it, and the Republicans aren't happy about it because right now they're an anti-immigration coded group. Again, 30 years ago, that part was the exact opposite, but the Democrats deserted the working class in the mid 90s. They deserted him. I was alive. I voted for president twice. And the first time I voted was for Bill Clinton. He was my commander in chief when I was a young private in the Army. And I thought, I'm just going to vote in the same old cat, and I voted him in. And he put forth some motions that gave tax breaks to people. It wasn't just him. The Republicans were all there too. And we always blame it on the president. And we've got to remember that Congress and the Senate's a part of that. And that moved to where if you moved your manufacturing somewhere else, you got a tax break. And so, it just kept going.
Yeah.
Oh, so taco means Trump always cops out. I hope your acronym catches on. I do. I know the left right now can't meme because they're still in cultural power. When you're in cultural power, you can't meme, you can't start acronyms, you can't start jokes. That is the purview of the people not in cultural power. But in 5 to 8 years, the bottom, the the subpar of that pendulum swing is going to switch, and both sides either will or won't be able to meme. But in 10 years, don't worry, the right won't be able to meme again, and the left will totally dominate the entertainment factor of politics. The cartoons will be funny again. The left will then, when you're out of power, you can make jokes. But when you're in power, you really can't. It doesn't carry the same weight. Maybe it's the woke thing, the punching down thing. I don't know what it is. It's just something that it's
I
not
think
me.
you're far more optimistic than
It's not me
many
stating
conservatives
this.
feel.
It's me observing this. It's just what it is. It's just how it happens. The jester
Have we
is
ever had a
never.
time when it's been global and when the United Nations has said, this is our goal globally, and when churches have stood at the pulpit and said, global citizenship is the goal within 5 years? Have we ever been in that?
I don't think we
have.
think so. I think they tried that with the League of Nations.
Okay. They didn't have the internet to speed up.
The issue is when you come down to tactile, is that it probably won't last. They'll have a push towards that, and then people will feel the brunt of it, and they'll recognize that, and then they'll start voting for things that go against it.
Okay.
And that's just the way it goes. Tax cuts are spending. Well, tax cuts aren't spending. They're just not revenue generating. Spending is spending. When the government says, we're going to take care of this for you, that is spending. That's what it is. It is what it is. You're not wrong, but you're not exactly right. Epstein files. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that might be a Trump killer. I don't know what's going on there. We'd all love to see it. Talk all over the place. Not surprised you never heard, but Fox doesn't cover the Epstein files. Sure, they don't. Okay. Go on. What do you expect?
Corrupt,
but then again, if the
wealthy people are going to do what corrupt, disgusting, wealthy people do,
if
that is not my end goal. That is not my end game. My end game is not making our kids Nazis. That's my. Let me ask
him this: if the tables were turned, let's say Biden was still president and this Epstein push came out, do you think MSNBC would? Just throwing it out there. Remember, your programming on TV is that. It is programming, and it may be programming for right-coded or left-coded, but it's still programming. I don't watch watch Fox News either. Global citizenship. I don't care what Pope Leo says. I think it's kind of cool. We got a Chicagoan in there. Maybe he likes a hot dog with some peppers on it. Maybe he roots for the Bears on Sundays. I'm a Bears fan. They've always lost, but maybe now that we got a Pope in there from the Windy City, maybe the Bears will bring it back for us. Maybe we'll have a successful year. Doubt it. You can't abuse me. That's one of my sayings. You can't abuse me. I'm a Bears fan. Just, you can't hurt my feelings. I don't get sensitive about shit. I'm a Bears fan. That broke me of all the desire to fight for, make sure you tread lightly around me. No. It contributes to the deficit. I think our government's too involved in too many things.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're dealing with
we'll go back to de Tocqueville. Andre de Tocqueville. The book he wrote, he came over here in what was it, it's like 1828 or something like that. Kind of in a lull in the many French revolutions. And he said, the beautiful thing about the United States is how they build a community together to go take care of stuff. He says, but the scary thing is they've got this democratic republic and they're advancing. He said this before the Civil War. They're advancing towards universal suffrage. And once they get that and everyone recognizes that they can vote other people's stuff, they will, and then the United States will be no more.
Yeah, well, the fact that the majority of Americans believe that we're a democracy is extremely frightening to me. This is why I teach, because they have to understand what a democracy is and why, from the very beginning, people didn't want it. They realized it was a really, really bad idea. Even in Rome, they realized, holy crap, this is a bad idea.
Well,
And
yeah, it's
so, uh, and it's caused, we've lost a lot of good people due to democracy, due to mob rule.
democracies will never be voted in when wealthy people initiate the government, because democracies are a huge threat to people's wealth. It's that mob rule. They will vote to take your stuff. Democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. In
Exactly.
a republic is a well-armed sheep. So a republic means you have
Yes.
representative government, and they could be elected however. Ours are elected through democratic means, but a republic means, in our coding of it, a republic is a laws laid down. It's fences and barriers laid down to where it can only work within these bounds. But we've broken with that. I mean,
Exactly.
just the ATF making up laws. Where is it that you would have a bureaucratic entity that financially benefits from something have the ability to change and make the laws at will to gain their financial benefit?
So we're actually a constitutional republic. I'm just going to hit that because I'm
Yes,
seeing
we
this
are.
other thing, and it's really sad that so many people
We're a
believe exactly what's
constitutional
being put in.
republic. He says, well,
Yes.
his parents were teachers. We need to respect his parents were teachers, and he knows that we are a representative democracy. He's a crackhead. Soviet
It's making
Union
me
was
sad. It's making me
yes.
really sad because I'm thinking about the kids that I'm going to be teaching this year, and I'm like,
Okay, he says,
yeah.
surprised you're no into Epstein, but worried about children. We've done many shows about Epstein. Many shows about Epstein,
I think
including
he means
on my
me,
old.
and
What's
I
that?
feel different. I said I think he means me, and I feel different. I'm
Oh,
a very pragmatic person. Okay, I do not believe that children should be used as sex slaves. I am actually, you know this. I'm a survivor myself, and I'm not. We need to stop pretending, and people will not like this, but there are people who think that the way that we were raised is the same way today's generation of young people are raised. And there are people who likely went over to that island being told, you're going to get a lot of free stuff. Okay. Regardless of whether or not that's why they went, I think that it's disgusting that old people are attracted to young people like that. I also think it's kind of true, because that's the fertile window. So again,
I
I'm being
think
pragmatic here, okay? But evil people are going to do what evil people do. Here's one thing. When they were fighting for their lives to make sure that Trump did not win, if he had pictures of himself all over girls, it would have come out. We already have a two-tiered justice system. We already have that. Look at how many things he tries to pass through the courts and they stop him. And somebody like, what's her bucket, the crazy one, who's newly elected, Jackson. So, right? Yes, Judge Jackson. So look at the way these people, they emote their feelings instead of principles. And we have that all across the board.
Did you see when
Ketanji
Brown, when she
Brown,
put
yes.
out that letter, and even the progressive justices were like, "Ooh, that's retarded." Full stop.
Amy Coney Barrett was like, and I don't think that Amy Coney Barrett really. I mean, I don't think she has any love for Trump. Let's put it that way. And even she was like, "This is stupid." So,
even the progressive ones, that other lady, Sonia
Oh yeah, I know who you're
Sotomayor.
talking
She
about.
even came out and said
Sotomayor.
that was they all they disagreed with the ruling, but they really disagreed with her
And we're
disagreement of
royally
the ruling.
screwed that she's on the Supreme Court. So to me, we have bigger issues. As we force feed our kids the global competencies, to me, this is a bigger issue than Epstein. It just is. So, because guess what? Epstein is happening all over the place.
For
It's
me,
happening. Go ahead.
Epstein is very important, but I don't know. Here's something. This is Neenerpuss. This is specifically for you, both of you guys. When we're done here, I want you to take a minute and I want you to look up Operation Midnight Climax. I want you guys to look that up. It's not a porno. It's an actual thing that happened that the CIA did. And I think that is, it's really creepy. And look it up. Pick your favorite YouTuber that does a show on it, or just read what we actually know about it. But what if that was the initiation of the of our politicians and our ultra wealthy kind of getting bamboozled, maybe getting the videos made of them and getting
Sure.
and look it up. So look up Operation Midnight Climax, and it's a thing that really happened. It's out in the open. It's hilarious, I mean, in a gross way, but it would make a fantastic, like, I don't know, HBO miniseries. Calvin Ball. What is Calvin Ball?
I have no idea.
I don't either, but I'll look it up. I'm not a scared. Calvin Ball. Okay. Calvin Ball, the Calvin and Hobbes wiki fandom. Okay. Is that what we're talking about? I love Calvin and Hobbes. Sign me up. Calvin Ball is a game invented by Calvin and Hobbes. It is used reoccurring in several strips. The game may involve wickets, mallets, volleyballs, and okay. Is that what we're talking about, or are you talking Calvin Ball?
Is he from Utah? Because
Member of the U.S. Democratic Party since 2006, Howard County, Maryland. On December 4th, 2006, Dr. Ball made Howard County history when he was elected the youngest chairperson ever to lead the county council, serving approximately. Are we talking about him? Who are we talking about? Hey, good on him. He's the same age as me. How about that? I mean,
Well, I'm wondering about Levitt, because I know that has to do with stuff that has gone down in Utah.
Oh yeah, Levitt with that.
So I'm thinking, yeah,
that ritualistic sacrifice story that's coming out. That's wild. I did some looking into that. I haven't found any evidence, but it was fun to look into. I'm prone to conspiracy theories.
Yeah, Jackson refers to it. I don't care what Jackson refers to. I think that Jackson isn't 100% a DEI hire. And I have no problem saying that. Go ahead and quote me. I mean,
Biden says that he was going to as a DEI hire.
Yes.
What are the rules to Calvin Ball? There are no rules. It just said on there that it's played with whatever. I don't know. Anyways.
That's okay.
Yeah. And no, that's interesting. I'll look into it later. That might be something cool to look into. I do dig Calvin and Hobbes. My favorite are when he makes the snowmen. They're always, like the dad will go out in the morning to get ready to get in the car, and there's it looks like his car ran over a snowman. And so the snowman's disassembled on the car, and other snowmen are screaming next to it. I think it's hilarious, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think that if Trump has some way of turning education around, he'll win, because I think that most people know, they just won't say that they know the problems. So I think that, and I think that the economy, it always comes down to the economy. I'm hopeful
Yeah.
that Mamdani is going to, well, I think Mamdani is going to win by about 80%.
Do you
And
think so?
we're going to see socialism play out, hopefully with enough time that, I mean, they get these socialist grocery stores and it doesn't work out well very quickly. So hopefully it'll happen with enough time that there will be something to point to and say, do you want that? That's what I'm hopeful for, but we'll see.
Yeah, I let him win. I did like Mamdani's answer when they asked him about Israel. Are you going to go to Israel and kiss the wall? And he's like, I'm running for mayor of New York. I'm not going to Israel. I deal with New Yorkers. That's the right answer.
Maybe the right answer. Very much the wrong guy. I don't believe. Oh, well.
No.
I don't think that people should be allowed to run for office when they have been citizens for 5 years.
I have been an ardent capitalist, but lately I've been wondering, are we going to have to explore new avenues as AI and robotics becomes more involved? And I hearken back to Charles Murray. Everyone take a quick gasp. He's a canceled one, whatever, because of the bell curve. But Charles Murray wrote a book about it, about when AI, and he wrote this book years ago, 20 years ago. And about how as we modernize, and it'll eliminate jobs that those people can hold, and like they'll be left out in the cold. So he's the first one that brought up, he didn't call it, but brought up, there will have to be, if we want to maintain civility, there will have to be some form of like a UBI. And I argued against it forever, but exploring those thoughts and letting my mind wander to those places, I wonder, is there going to have to be movements like that? Are we eliminated from because we're reaching another revolution? I don't believe that capitalism as we know it would have survived or would have been quite beneficial prior to the Industrial Revolution, and it wasn't because of slavery. And slavery made it so that people were priced out of the market. Part of the reason the South is still so far behind is because your average non-slave holding individual was priced out of the market, because you had this wealthy guy over here that had this free labor, and he would put the free labor out there that was cheaper to outcompete and probably do a better job than the individuals, the regular people. So they were essentially dregs, and so then they were selling themselves for nothing, and it really kicked them back. And so I wonder if we hit so after that, the Industrial Revolution, then we get to have capitalism, like pure, like capitalism as we know it, come into fruition. And yes, it has its downsides, and yes, there's corruption. A lot of that is enabled, I think, by government and tax laws and how they write that. And I don't have the answers, and I don't know if there are answers. If I worship anyone, I worship Thomas Sowell. I think he's the smartest human being to ever live. And he says there are no solutions. There's only trade-offs. And that's where we're at with that. And I wonder if with this new revolution, the AI revolution or robotic revolution or whatever else, are we entering a world where a new economic model has to be formed? And I maybe a Bakunin style communism where it wouldn't work, because I do believe the government always going to hold power. And Bakunin he was a contemporary of Marx, though he said Marx was a He's really interesting to read. He was an anarchist communist, just like Marx, except he would go to the places where it was happening and get arrested. Marx would live off other people. Bakunin went to the Paris Commune when it got arrested, and he got arrested, and he went to Russia and got arrested, and they sent him to the Gulag, the pre-World War I, the Tsarist Gulag, and he went to that, and he escaped, and he traveled across the tundra and caught a ship from where'd he catch it from? He caught it from I want to say Kursk, took it to San Francisco, got off in San Francisco, traveled across the U.S. to get on another ship to get back to France to his wife. And he was this dirty, grungy, tough guy. Right? If you see a picture of him, his beard is amazing. I'll dig it up real quick. But
okay.
He wrote very negatively about Marx, but Marx caught on because he was backed by wealthy people.
Yes, I'm reading these things. Okay, so what am I going to do if socialism wins? I'm Johnny, and then I saw another one. To our degree, our country has always had socialism. So our country actually had socialism when they first got to Jamestown.
Sure did.
They passed out. They told everybody, "You get this much. You get this much," and they had a very, very rough winter. They were starving to death.
2 years. They failed for 2 years.
Yes, and then after that, is it Smith? I'm trying to think. He's in the movie Pocahontas. I think it was
John Smith.
John Smith. Yeah, came out to them and said, he quoted a Bible verse, and he said, "He who does not work does not eat." And the fact that they were able to do for themselves, and they were to, as hard as they worked, that's what they were able to keep. They became a thriving society. Because when you only get whatever, no matter, and the other thing is that people would go out and they would do their work because some people have that moral code, and other people naturally, because we are humans, have a desire to take more. So they would go to the storehouse and steal. So that was happening as well. Now, what am I going to do if socialism wins? I fully expect that if we don't right this track, and I will say right this track, socialism will win. And if it wins, then I'm going to spend my very last breath speaking for liberty and trying to be as ungovernable as possible, which means have my own garden as long as we can have it. And mind you, there were people who were already saying everyone should have to register their garden. Right now, it's just a volunteer policy, but if we let the wrong people get elected, it will be mandatory. And when Barack Obama was in office, he said that people should have to give up their food storage in case of. So all of the things that you think you've saved and you're secure for, good luck. And then when you have a whole society of kids who have been taught to live on grievance, good luck. So I'm going to teach as many people as I can from every age. I'm going to say yes to every podcast that wants me to co-host and every class that wants me to teach, and go wherever I need to go to help young people realize that grievance is not a way to live your life. And that's what happens. We look at grievance, we look at anger, we look at resentment. That is not a way to live your life. And it's not a hopeful way. It's not a helpful way.
I agree. I wonder, man, if the Marxism that is coded for the Western countries comes here, it won't last long because it's too weak. But the Eastern communism is very masculine and very strong. So they might, I don't know. It says mandatory birth control. Wow. What would that be like? How would that be done? Would you have to get in a line, maybe wear a little mark, maybe a little something sewn on your sleeve, maybe? I don't know. Unregulated capitalism is dying. I would argue unregulated capitalism hasn't been tried, but let me know where it's happening. I'd like to go check it out. A new economic model will be required. Yes, I agree. A new economic model. Schools that come about in school started Horace Mann. That was what was that, 1830? Police, fire, ambulance. Yes, there was fire brigades in the origination of the United States, but they were privately owned. They were privately funded. They weren't publicly funded. Fire, ambulance. Well, ambulance, I mean, we really didn't have those. Water, sewers, that wasn't there in the beginning. Roads and bridges were not. Actually, roads and bridges, the early corporations would be small groups that would set up and they would have a contract to build something. Like if you wanted to build a bridge for your community across a creek, you'd make a contract, and that'd be a corporation to build this. And then once it was over, it always had a term limit. But that was just people, who would sign on saying, I will provide this for the trades of this. Like a woodsman would say, I will bring this many logs and they will be this big. And you'd have a carpenter say, I will whittle them down. Things like that. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. Ooh, the IUD. That's how they're going to do the mandatory birth control. You don't have to worry about it. We're in a demographic collapse. You know what? Here's what will happen. If your total state takes over in 25 years, they will make it mandatory you have children. China, I'll bet China before 2030 makes it mandatory to try to have children.
Right now they're encouraging it.
They're encouraging it. Yes, they're encouraging two kids. 10 years ago, they were encouraging one. You've got Hungary has all sorts of, trying all sorts of benefits to have kids because we're in a global demographic collapse. Now, what might change that is if we go into this new industrial revolution where robots start taking everything and we go to like that Wall-E space, maybe then they won't try to have more kids because we'll have a kind of an equilibrium we'll have met.
Well,
yeah.
So I'm looking at this school teachers, fire ambulance, all of that, right? Okay.
But he says that we've always been socialism. That way.
Sure. But here's the thing. So how come administrators make so much more than teachers? Well, if we're in true socialism and everybody's equal, how come fire chiefs make more than the firemen? If we're so equal, if we're looking for pure equality across the board, but we're not, there's always a class that's higher up. Always.
Well,
and in socialism, go ahead.
Well, what he's saying is we've always been socialist. Those are, the schools and teachers, public schools they came out with Horace Mann. Gosh, I want to say that was the late 1800s.
The ideas, but the culture, but the people have always been ambitious. It's why these ideas, when I was in 6th grade, I thought socialism would be awesome too. Everybody will be equal. We'll all have the same. We'll all have matching houses. That'll be amazing. But that's not what happens because ambition and jealousy, because socialism is built, Thomas Sowell says it, socialism is built on jealousy. And so one of the things that they would do in Russia is if your hen had too many eggs, somebody in the neighborhood would go report you. So you've got these people who believe in the ideological, we should all be equal. No one should have anything else more than anyone. What about is it the kulaks? Yes. Well, where they would go and they'd say, you've got a little bit more than we do. So you have to go to that's a
code from the Bolsheviks.
Yes.
You had it happen. And I'm not going to say that if we went socialist, it'd happen the same way. I mean, Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge, they were interesting. If you wore glasses, you got executed. If you spoke 2 languages, you got executed. If you lived in the city, you were forced out into the countryside to slave labor in the rice fields. It's interesting. Watch the Killing Fields or just read up on him. I mean, he would be, if he had a bigger country, he'd be the biggest mass murderer to ever live. He killed 1/3 of his country. Drink that in, folks. He killed.
They were considered intellectual. They're gone.
1 in 3 people in his own country. Socialism is public finance. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just it hasn't been there since the beginning. I mean, remember Thomas Jefferson had a whole bunch of trouble because he built a navy to stop the Barbary pirates from kidnapping our sailors.
What will look like is South Africa. That's
Maybe.
South. I mean, Cuomo said that is the desire. The desire is to look like South Africa.
I hope
That's
not. Anybody who's
rude.
taken an intellectual look at South Africa can see that that place is going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
And
Yes, it is.
and happily they can't keep electricity on for 4 hours a day. Anyone who has money just built like little compounds to live in.
No, Christ was not a socialist.
It's funny. That's an argument people like to use. Christ
I
was
know.
socialist. It doesn't work on me because I'm not a Christian, but I don't know if Christ was a socialist. I mean he asked people to give. I don't know if Christ ever forced people to give. Now, socialism is when you're forced to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion. That's why, yeah. But go on and argue however you want. And we've turned this into an arguing with Neenerpuss show.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And where's my normal cat I usually argued with? Pegasus. Genghis.
Is it Genghis Khan? Is that what they're trying to say? Maybe?
Well,
I don't know.
That's
But
Genghis.
okay.
But
Well,
maybe
it's an insult. I don't know. But
it could be.
No.
I'm down. You can't insult me. Look, I'm dumb and I know it. You cannot insult me.
Socialism
Apartheid.
is very much concerned with the things of this world. When people came up to Christ and said, "Hey, tell us about this thing. Is it fair? Is it not fair?" He said, "I'm about my Father's work." So he was about souls. He wasn't about material, whatever. And that is something that happened in the Black churches in the 1930s when the communists came into their churches and inserted social justice. So that's where the idea comes from, which is fine. But it's not like that's something I've been working on for a long time to wake African Americans up to the fact that social justice was literally used on them because they were considered a disposable class of people. So they came in and they said, well, we'll try this. And if it doesn't work, well, whatever, they're dispensable. We can just get rid of these people.
Man, that's a tough haul.
It's harsh. It's extremely harsh. And it's exciting to watch people waking up to it.
I don't think of it. Well, I've got a nephew. Oh, so when he tried spelling apartheid and it came out Genghis, what did autocorrect think it was spelling with Genghis? It must mean something somewhere. I don't know.
Right.
Anyways.
Right. I did a lot of work on apartheid and speaking to people who've moved here from South Africa. Apartheid means an apart government. It didn't necessarily, like, it had bad things for sure, but it did
100%.
It didn't have what they have today, which is something much more. I use the term nefarious. It's far more. It's
definitely gone brutal.
So they call white people the previously privileged class. So they can even admit that they're no longer privileged, and they still believe they need 30 more years of deprivileging them.
Well, it's gone brutal, and they've done what?
There's a lot of hatred.
I'm going to say some complicated things now. I think societies need to earn their way into certain levels of civilization. And I think some societies have and some haven't. South Africa hasn't. And it is the apartheid government's fault that they didn't. The apartheid government kept them out of decision making and learning those cultural things they need to learn in order to rule and to have a government that can keep up with the time.
Okay.
And so, yes, I will blame the apartheid government for that. But the outcome of that is that you have this group that come in to rule and they don't have the ability to rule. And so what they've done is they've done nepotism in key areas, which has caused
Yes.
internal failures. It's caused infrastructure failures. They have gone brutalist against some people in kind of a revenge quest that's never going to work out. I mean, now you've got Zimbabwe begging the white farmers to come back because they stole their farms and gave it to people who were never farmers. I am not a farmer. Do not give me a farm. It will not produce anything because I don't know how. I have some skills, but farming is not one of them. So that is where they're at. And you've seen it happen in other places. Venezuela did.
I think you're more gentle. So you got to remember that when Nelson Mandela came in and he brought the Rainbow Coalition, they were doing well because he did recognize and he looked around and he said, in order for this to happen, they've got to learn from these people.
Let me tell you where they weren't, because he filled his cabinet with people who believed that in revenge, and he knew they believed in revenge. And that's where Nelson Mandela failed.
So he knew this? You think he did? So
100%. He knew what the ANC was about. He knew that they like to put tires over people's heads, fill them with diesel, and light them on fire. He knew this. His wife was one of them.
Wow. So because I've heard from South Africans that they've said he was not the dictator they expected him to be.
He was not a dictator, but he let dictators in his cabinet. Now what happens?
Now they're in charge.
Okay. Now, a lot of people think Vladimir Lenin was a good guy. He was not. He was almost as brutal as Stalin, but he let Stalin in his cabinet. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
3/5 compromise. It's funny. I would like to take a minute and explain the 3/5 compromise to people.
Sounds like a plan.
And it's ugly and awful and degrading and sad. But the Democrats always use the 3/5 compromise as them saying that the black slaves were less than human. The 3/5 compromise was a compromise because the Democrats in the South wanted all their slaves to be counted as citizens because that would give them more congressional seats. Just
like illegal immigration.
Just like the Democrats want to do with the illegal immigrants right now. The Democrats have never changed. And the Republicans argued, no, we want to do away with that abortion of an ideal called slavery. We don't want to give you more congressional seats. So they argued it, and the compromise was that they would count slaves as 3/5, and that meant that the South wouldn't be able to send that extra amount of congressional seats in. Had they not done the 3/5 compromise and had they followed the Democrat Party, they would have, had they followed the Democrat Party way, I would argue that slavery would not have ended when it did, and maybe not until today. That would be a completely different world that we live in. Now, had they gone the other way and gone with the Republican side, slavery would have probably ended without a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what it is. And he says Reagan advocated for apartheid most of his administration. Yes, he did, as did everywhere else. And then there was a big movement away from it. I want to say, if I remember, it was in 1984 or 5 was when the big movement away from apartheid happened. Yes, Reagan probably cravenly did it to win a re-election, just like the German chancellor at the time and the British speaker at the time. All of them did. They all kind of turned within a year. And I'm not saying they're wrong for turning, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that it's wrong for apartheid to end. What is wrong is that apartheid existed the way it existed. I think that the the apartheid government should have, starting way back in the late 1800s, should have started fostering that individual reliance that they made themselves have, but they didn't foster into
the ruling class was the Boer at that time.
the Boer, but they'd been conquered by the British. So technically they were the British that was the ruling class. The Boer was the wealthy class.
Right. And they did things that helped them stay wealthy. And
of course,
I learned a lot about it from South Africans who were like, but here's the thing, like they feel guilty. They're saying, you know, we grew up this way, but we all had someone in our house who was like a family member that we respected, that we played football with, that we never thought anything. It was just the way it was. And that's the thing. That is just the way the culture was. I am a relatively light-skinned biracial woman. Okay, that's a fact. And
you would have been that middle class.
I wouldn't have been able to associate with even like if I had a brother who was darker than me or lighter than me, we weren't supposed to associate. But there was a difference between that set them apart so that they don't kill each other when they all come together, and what has happened now with an absolute state-sanctioned revenge and utter corruption. So there's Black people that are really suffering under what's going on now, because it all comes down to nepotism.
That's what's killing them, is the corruption. They keep losing. What do they have? They don't call it a president there, prime minister. They keep losing them to corruption. And then they come back. It's just like in all these countries that weren't prepared. Any country that was dominated by the Iberian Peninsula has gone through this, where they keep having this corruption churning, because those empires didn't foster in the areas they conquered. They didn't foster any self-reliance. They made it so every decision had to be ran through the governor they sent, where England did it a little different. They fostered self-reliance. Yes, England did the old, robbed them blind, but they fostered self-reliance, which is why India fared so much better and Hong Kong fared so much better. For all the uglies they did to get there, India fared a lot better. And you got Angola with the French, has always had problems. Congo with the Dutch, although Congo's a different animal altogether. That was as brutal a situation as there ever been.
It's currently as brutal. There were, I think, 17 people beheaded a couple of months ago.
Well, yeah, it's going to take 100 years for the Congo to climb out of what was the king's name, King Dickwad or whatever, to climb out of what he did. It's going to take him another 100 years, I'll bet. And then they're causing war in Nigeria, but then you got places, Nigeria is doing kind of well, and so it's a mixed bag. It's interesting.
But I want to hit on, if it's okay, why I think South Africa should be a warning to us. Because what happened in South Africa is they played on the people's guilt. They played on people's guilt, and they said, oh, you're white supremacist, so you need to give up this and you need to give up that. And what they did was they let the wrong people come into power based on what I would call, what it is often called, toxic empathy. We're doing the same things. We are allowing people, we are electing people, even at our Utah Capitol, who absolutely put themselves and their desires first. They are not there to represent their constituents. And we're definitely doing that thing at the federal level. There are so many people who are elected who are actors. They're horrible actors. They're like third-rate cable actors standing up there and doing their stupid stuff, and you just sit there going, yeah, I direct children's theater. my students are better than you at this. But people believe them because they know. And I have people say it to me. I was with a representative the other day who said, "Oh, Carrie will say the things the rest of us believe, but we can't say." And it's so, don't do that. If you do that, you will find yourself in a situation like South Africa. You are a human being, you have a right to speak. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Don't say, "Oh, well, Carrie has melanin," because I promise you, the uh, the ethnic squad in Utah does not believe I have a right to speak.
No.
So it's not a I mean, you can be empathetic, and true empathy seeks to understand,
You don't
not seeks to be manipulated.
you don't support their craven desires. That's why you don't have a right to speak. And they are craven. I tried having them on the podcast. They wanted me to pay $5,000 to get them on. I was like, "Are you high?"
Yeah, it's a business. It's a business, and I'm not interested in
It
I'm not
is,
interested
yeah.
in the business. So it becomes an issue. But really, everything. I have a very good friend who's a psychologist in South Africa. And really, what he said, how they learned from equitable math, lowering the standards, teaching them. They were another generation. He's about my age, and they're so a different generation than apartheid. And sitting there going, "We never thought of this world this way. You're forcing us. You're force feeding us to hate each other."
Yeah. It's I do have a close friend that is genetically Boer. He's from South Africa, moved here when he was like 17, finished high school, joined the army, got his citizenship. Now he's in his 60s, and he talks about his aunt and uncle were assaulted like 5 years ago on their farm, and they tried killing them. They, did a whole bunch of stuff, and it's a violent thing. It's a revenge plot. It is what it is. I want to know, how old is Neenerpuss? Neenerpuss, if you dare, put in how old you are. He says, "Bricks, look it up." Neenerpuss, I was looking into bricks about 20 years ago, so really don't need to look it up. How's it going? BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They've been trying to talk about starting their own kind of SWIFT system or a match for the SWIFT system, so they can pull away from using the dollar as the currency for international trading. It's not going well because they don't trust each other and they all want to be dominant. It might happen. If they got their stuff together, it would collapse the United States tomorrow. It would collapse us. We would be done the very next day if a competing market showed up, just because we're so saturated into it. But they haven't got their stuff together, and all of them kind of have all of the same problems we have. These problems are the world over. Inflation and all that. It's the world over. And he says all Republicans look out for their own interests. I would dare you to look into which party gives most to charity and tell me more. Wealth can be inherited, so can poverty. Yes, it can. And wealth can also be lost, and poverty can also be defeated. It is what it is. I guess if you want to steal the wealth from anyone who has any, like have a wealth tax, you can do that. I mean, go ahead. It's not going to prove beneficial, and it's going to cause. Remember, there are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. So steal the wealth, see what comes out of it. There will be things that I can predict and things that are unknown, but it will. You'll get one. You'll have to do it the world over somehow, because what you're going to see, and you're already seeing it in England, anyone with the means to is leaving England right now. Right now, Austin is swelling with expats from England. Right now, they're leaving.
Coming in, I know. Yeah.
They're going where they can provide a better life for their kids, because let's boil it down. That's all that matters. That's it. Is everyone wants to live as best a life as possible. And if you don't account for that, well, then you don't account for that. Education grows generationally. I would argue that my father got a better education than I did. That's kind of been proven.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would argue, and he did it without a calculator. And I probably got a better education than any of my nieces and nephews. And I did it without a cell phone.
The only reason my son has a good education is because we have a library of books.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's interesting,
the things that go on in school, sorry. He goes for the extracurriculars.
Gives to charity by percentage of their personal wealth. It's Democrat. You're going to have to prove that because all studies disagree. All studies disagree 100%, like by leaps and bounds. So share the proof, because all studies disagree with you on that. You can just say that. Of course I can say whatever, like gravity is, if you hit the equator at the certain time of day is only half of what it is. But it's BS. You can say that, but they've studied this. The conservative areas give more to charity in total all numbers and in percentage. Matter of fact, it's the poorest religious areas that give more of their total income to charity. Yeah. So it just is what it is. And both parties protect their wealth. I mean, look at Obama. He made sure that all his coastal elites made bank while the rest of the country died. It is what it is. Everyone protects their own. They all protect their class. Right or wrong. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting show. We should probably round it out and close it up. We'll see if Facebook has. No, Facebook's still the same. Go Chiefs. Man, that is weird. I thought he was a Seattle Seahawks fan for sure. Matter of fact, I know I've seen him in Seattle Seahawks shirts.
He is. It's because we both went to Moses Lake High School 10 years apart.
Moses Lake Chiefs. Oh.
I don't even think they're called that now. I think they're called the Mavericks now because...
Well, okay. They are in a progressive area, and they've got to... Remember, progressives, to take care of the people, they've got to cancel them. That's something to think about, right? Right. The progressives pushed to take care of the people, so they took Uncle Ben off the rice. They had to cancel him to take care of him. And Jemima had to cancel her to take care of her. The Land O'Lakes Indian had to cancel her to take care of her.
The funny thing is that when I was in high school, the Native American Club designed the chief mascot. And so they took it from being a cartoon to being this very dignified chief. Uh-huh. And so all of the branding changed to the very dignified looking chief.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Mavericks, but whatever.
Well,
yeah.
To think about it, next I'll have horses will be mad or something. But if you, it's funny, the tribe, the tribe that the Redskins come from are arguing to try to get it put back on there because it was homage to them, and they're like, "Why'd you take it from us?" Subsidized southern states. The South is still recovering from having slavery. Having slavery had such a negative economic effect on them that it set the South back.
Well, they're very socialist. People think it's so conservative there, but that's one thing. I'll come full circle from going to Louisiana and going into Walgreens. There's nothing that you can get in this store without having to buzz a beeper and have a security guard come and find you.
But that's because you're in a city too. Cities. The Democrats have destroyed cities. They've made them into low trust societies. Now, I wouldn't say Louisiana is liberal, or I would argue, I think Louisiana is currently ran by a Republican, but the cities are all Democrat. But the South is subsidized. The South is the South is set back. And honestly, the South is set back. Look, any state except Texas is getting subsidized nationally because it's because of slavery. And Texas only climbed out of it in the last couple of years when Texas liberalized in the traditional sense of the word, liberalizing. Texas liberalized, meaning let the free market reign. And that's what saved Texas. The other states haven't. But remember,
get over it. We do agree, Neener Puss. I absolutely think that there's a time. Not only do we need to get over it, but we need to have so I guess he didn't finish. She said, isn't that what the conservatives say? I agree. And also, and I think this will be the end because we do need to wrap up, but the Smithsonian Institutes, okay, they're going through all of these things and they're saying, oh, they're whitewashing. They're not whitewashing. I've been to them in the last 3 years. They are absolutely propaganda mills. And if you want to talk about slavery, you must talk about Anthony Johnson, because Anthony Johnson sued to re-own John Kaser. And that is how chattel slavery began in the United States. By the way, Anthony Johnson was a black man.
The first legal chattel slavery holder in the Americas. It wasn't the United States then, and it wasn't even the colonies then. Slavery was 160 years ago. Yeah, it was. It was
Massachusetts.
Oh, he was in he was in New Orleans. That's where he's from. He's from Angola, and he lived in New Orleans. Now,
but I think this case was in Massachusetts.
It probably was.
But there were multiple black slave owners who not only owned slaves,
3,700.
Really, I didn't know this. And they also owned white indentured servants. And also Trail of Tears. We've got all of our kids learning to do land acknowledgments, but we've got the Trail of Tears where there were black slaves and white indentured servants walking with them. I think that we should not be paying the emotional debt for something we did not cause personally. I really don't think so.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help a person who starts life oppressed to constantly think every day, oh my gosh.
Oh, for sure.
My mama didn't love me.
It reminds me of that video. You ever see the video where the dad's carrying the baby and they walk by the door and they knuckle wrap the door and then hold the baby's head? Oh, I'm sorry. And the baby starts crying.
Oh, okay. No, but
that's what it is. You're just causing them to react to emotion. Yes. Slavery was 160 years ago, but that's how powerful it is as a destroyer of economies. Slavery destroys economies. That's why it should never be practiced ever again. Texas gets $73 billion more federal spending. Texas also has Fort Hood. Texas also has Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, Fort Sam Houston. Texas has more military bases and more military personnel in it than anywhere else. At Fort Hood alone, Fort Hood is the biggest military installation in all of the United States. And then you've got Sam Houston, you've got Fort Bliss. Texas has just so many federal entities living in it. And also Texas is also a border state, which tends to get more federal spending sent to it. It just happens, but Texas is climbing out of that. Texas is climbing out of that because Texas deregulated. Austin had a big push to deregulate in the 70s. We got to remember, Carroll Shelby left Texas to go to California in the 60s to build race cars because Texas was too regulated. Nowadays, businesses are leaving California to go to Texas to escape regulations. They just switched. And also, that's what that pendulum swing. The conservative, they were Democrat conservatives back then, but the conservative groups fought for regulation at that time because they were on the cultural hierarchy. The reason comedy works when you're the underclass, when you're the underdog, is because just like the jester, you dress goofy, you're an outsider, you're allowed to say more brash stuff and everything else. But when you're in control, you've got to be prim and proper, and it has to come with the weight of intelligence and whatever else, which is why I can say crap.
But also, okay, reparations, all of these things, thinking about your trauma. It's not because you're cold that you don't think about your trauma. There were people who were shot in the Middle East with Saddam Hussein. There was an orphanage, and a lot of these people were left paraplegic. And they had an opportunity to go to a university, and half of the university felt that they should coddle these people because, well, they've had it really hard. And the other people said, no, we're not going to coddle them. We are going to make them rise. We will give them what they need. Like, we're not going to say, walk to class. You can't walk to class. You've got a wheelchair, right? So, but they would give them the basics of what they need, and then the rest they had to rise to. And that's the best thing to do. If you have people who have been mistreated, have been whatever, they have to be able to imagine a war. After a war, you have to build back. That's what you have to do. But our people are being told not to build back. They're being told to wallow intentionally, because that keeps a subservient class of people. So it's not about not having compassion. I'm not a cold-hearted person. I think that you have to look at the hard things that come into your life and go, all right, what's my step? What step can I take tomorrow to improve my life? How do I do this? And for people to say that that's cold, unheart, doesn't have any heart or whatever, that is keeping someone down. I've seen that happen time and time again by the people who are going to charge you $5,000. People who want to keep people low because it's beneficial for them, when the best thing that you can do is say, yep, it's going to be real, real hard. You have to do it anyways. I would like to lose 20 pounds. I've got to remove the bread from my house. Have to do it.
You need to start eating meat. You need to come hunting with me. Harvest. No, it's
yeah.
Well, about reparations. I don't know. Who would you be taken from? Who would you be given to? If reparation happened to the people who were slaves, 100%. If they'd have gave them the 50 acres and a mule, 100%, or even their descendants. But we're kind of too far out from that, where adjudicating that would just cause harm to the nation. Yeah, I just don't know. And then he says there are no conservative comedians. Okay, I mean, I maybe you just define comedians different, but right now the top comedians, the ones that bring in that fill the biggest stadiums. I mean, Tony Hinchcliffe, Shane Gillis. I mean, but maybe you don't consider them comedians. Maybe because they don't ideologically align with you, you're going to say they're not comedians or they're not good. And you can say that. That's fine. I don't care. I guess being a comedian is to the eye of the beholder. Maybe it's objective. If your grandpa stole the Mona Lisa and hid it in his attic and he dies with you inheriting the house, is the Mona Lisa yours? I don't know. Maybe.
Good answer.
It depends on if you can keep it hidden. If you keep it hidden, well, that's 9/10 of the law. If you can sell it without getting caught, maybe. Labor was stolen, 100%. Yes, it was. Wealth is inherited. Sometimes it's not. I mean, I can think of lots of people who are wealthy who didn't inherit it.
Yep.
Well, and didn't inherit it.
Right. Who climbed
Again,
their way
we'll just
up.
mention Joe Rogan is rather wealthy. Comes from a poor hippie family. Adam Carolla. Huh? Another conservative comedian. Or maybe he's not a
Thomas
comedian
Sowell.
to
How
you.
about Thomas Sowell, our friend Thomas Sowell? He's
Thomas
very,
Sowell.
he's
What
got a
was
good
that?
life.
What was that black doctor? That black surgeon? Damn it.
Ben Carson.
Yeah, Ben Carson.
Super poor.
Yeah.
No, the little wealth comes from the people who've told them that they are incapable of doing for themselves and they must be completely dependent on others. If you are completely dependent on others, you have no desire to try. If you have no desire to try, you can't change your outcome. By the way, Neener Puss, I grew up and aged out of the foster system.
Yeah. And she's wealthy.
Not that.
She's got a wealthy last name. She was smart. She married into the last name Bartholomew.
It does sound that way, doesn't it?
Black built this country. I would argue both people built this country. I know everyone likes to say that only blacks built it. And slaves were part of it, 100%, part of every step. Well, most steps. I mean, up north, they really weren't a part of it. And they need to be paid. But so do you need to be paid because of the color of your skin? You need to be paid because someone with the same color of skin as you did something sometime somewhere or something bad happened to them. You need reparations for that.
How about all of the people who've only been here for a decade or two and don't have because they're gonna fight the other ones when they're living in the projects and one side gets their inheritance and the other side doesn't because they've just come over here from Bermuda or something. They're going to fight and they're going to how come they get this money and I don't get this money? That becomes an issue.
How do you split it up and redlining and
well how do you find out who is? People will say, oh, don't you think you deserve reparations?
How about we go?
Well, I'm second generation American. That's it. So
COINTELPRO, we go there. That was a bad thing that happened to the blacks, or what other bad thing happened? Let's go and find people who didn't do it to pay people who it wasn't done to.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't inherit any wealth, but I should be fine because maybe somewhere, sometime, some wealth might have. Ooh, I've got the same color of skin as someone that might have inherited wealth. And they've got the same color of skin that wealth might have been robbed from. So let's make a racist punishment.
Right.
So, Neener Puss, you're being racist. That's just what it boils down to.
Right.
Being racist. What's that like?
It just comes down to what do you want kids to focus on? What do you want people to focus on? And unfortunately, they have found for a very long time that if you can focus on grievance, you will not try. You're too bitter to change your life.
Everyone has beliefs as to why they try to force, especially the black community, into that. I honestly think Democrats are trying to destroy this country by building low trust societies.
Yes.
And I think that's why they push onto the urban community fatherlessness, why they push onto the urban community low trust, why they and violent music and all of that. And then it comes to fruition. And they get that low trust society because Democrats want big government, and low trust societies always end up running to the government for the solution. And the Democrats are there with their arms open. And there we go. Why don't you want to pay for our country's foundation? Because that was our country's foundation. Should I say, all right, we should fine black people,
do the black slave owners, do the descendants of the black slave owners also, do they owe reparations to their white indentured servants who they kept forever, or to their black slaves? Do we go through that? I'm just wondering if we're going to go through that.
Republicans are the grievance party. Yes. Keep going. Keep going. Neener Puss, you've been on point all night. Why stop now?
But I wonder.
I like it. I like Neenerpuss. I like it when I get a whingy leftist to argue just wrongness the whole time, or to argue this emotion the whole time. I
Yeah.
like it. I'm down. Wienerpuss, I hope we see you next week.
What it's super textbook. Like, it's exactly the things that I would say. Now, there are some people who think this would be exactly that example. So when I'm teaching my students who happen to be 3rd through 8th graders, when I'm teaching them, I would use examples like this. Fatherlessness equals school to prison pipeline. Now, see, on this we can agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, except I don't believe in a school. I don't believe in a school to prison pipeline. I mean, it's like there's what, they just drive around picking up young black men and sending them to prison. Like, okay.
No, definitely not that. But
Yeah.
restorative justice in schools does create a situation where kids are not held accountable and they do not have a mentor. I know.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother, but yes, that's,
yeah.
And so when they don't have a mentor and they don't have a father figure at home, and churches are diminished, to bring it full circle to the disparaging of religious people, they do create criminals, and they want to. I mean, that's, again, I think there's a link to drugs, there's a link to mental health, and there is a link to the miseducation of our
and our
people.
Government is the one who brought drugs into those communities.
And what side of the party was he on?
Hey, Neenerpuss, I'll tell you what, I'll invite you on the show. You can come on and be my co-host next time. You and I will sit and chat, and you can tell me all your stuff, whatever. I'm fine with it. Last week I had the old chair of the Utah Democrat Party on as a co-host. I had Katie on last week. She was with me.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about that. What's that cat's name in the Utah Senate leadership that looks like he wrote a law to protect his kid?
Stuart Adams.
Yeah, Stuart Adams. Oh, talk about an ugly situation. I hoped he gets drummed out. Again.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Have you thought about who might replace him?
Don't care.
You need to think. I do. I definitely do.
Here's the deal.
What do you know about this story? Okay, I know we were supposed to get off, but what do you know about this story?
Well, a law was written that made it so that if an 18-year-old was still in high school, that they wouldn't be charged as an adult in a statutory rape situation.
So first it was a bunch of people like the constitutional republic type people who were writing the bill.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. I agree with the premise of that bill.
Okay.
That if they're still in high school, I think if it falls within the bounds of the Romeo and Juliet timeline, the 4-year mark,
and it was a 1 month
it would be
off of
like a freshman dating a senior. I could see that. Now, where this one falls out of that, and they should have wrote this in more clearly, the young lady, or maybe it was a young man, was 13. Therefore, not in high school, not in a general meeting area.
So he was about to turn 14. He'd gone to a party for older kids.
Sure.
And they had sex twice.
Not in a general meeting area. So that way I think it breaks that Romeo and Juliet law.
Okay.
And also what I don't like is that if there's a possibility that someone in power is going to use that power to have other legislators push a bill forward that'll benefit their family, that's just blatant corruption to me.
So when I first heard it, my first reaction was, what the heck is going on here? And so I asked for the whole story, and I got the whole story. This is a step grandchild in a new marriage to Stuart Adams.
Okay.
She was moved here. Their family came here from California. The girl is 18 years old. I don't
So it
think
was a
that
girl
boy.
and the boy was younger?
Yes.
What? Oh, well, then it's
Hang on.
okay. I'm
No,
okay with that then.
no. Oh, come on. So then she was.
Come on, we
She
all
was.
know that if it's a lady teacher, it's fine. I mean, the kid's going to blow a shoulder out with all those high fives, but
So she was. She was. Uh, the cops came in and perp walked her in school.
ooh,
She had
that's
to
rough.
have. She had to have an ankle bracelet for over a year,
Uh-huh.
a monitor bracelet, and she will be on the sex offenders registry for the next. I think it's no, it's not 25 years, for the rest of her life. Had she
That's
been
not what it
found
said.
guilty, had she been found guilty, it would be 25 years to life in prison for 2 kids. And also, from what I've
Why is
heard, he recused himself. But you need to think one more big thing.
well,
Mike
that's not
McKell
what
is number 3 on the on this thing. Mike McKell.
the people who put the bill in are saying that he urged them to do it.
So I've heard. So I know some of the senators, and I trust some of these senators, and they've written very long dissertations on the whole thing, and he put out his own thing now. So I don't know on that, but I do know, as somebody
I
who teaches young kids, I do know that sometimes, I mean, from what I've heard is that this kid comes here, doesn't know anyone. It's a rural area. Because I
uh-huh.
can't figure out what I can't figure out is how even somebody who was about to turn 14,
Man, I
that
just
still doesn't
like
put them
that
as.
some like 13-year-old kid went and scored himself an 18-year-old. Like that kid's man, chest all puffed out. He's like, yeah.
So that is not the story that we're getting. The story that we're getting is he was quite traumatized.
Oh, tell me more.
All I can do, you're holding me to a very, very hard place in this conversation. I can completely understand where you're coming from, but I
And then
also can
she
see
kissed
kids
me.
making a mistake. So I can also see
His
kids making
trauma
a
came
mistake.
after when it came out and the parents.
And I feel like I remove this.
I shouldn't
remove the
laugh
Stuart
about
Adams
this.
thing. I removed the
I
Stuart Adams
shouldn't.
thing, and I'm
He
looking
might,
at the kids and the
maybe she
human thing.
forced herself on him. Is this a situation of the evil R word in reverse? Is this that?
It happened twice.
Like the first time at the party and the second time like she's hiding in the bushes and he's out for his
Like in the
nightly
car.
jog
Like
in
in
a
the
car. Like she drove down the street and like kidnapped him, like the old unwashed burlap sack over the head and pulled him into the car like a van. Like
I think 2 kids,
if
I don't understand.
let me tell you
like,
this. If there was trauma in a 13-year-old boy for that, it was because after she rejected him. That's where the trauma comes from in a 13-year-old boy. I'm telling you that right now. Their brain is not developed enough to even know that something like that was negative to them until the rejection.
I think there's a whole lot.
Jordan says, Jared, guess what? I went to a free wrestling show. I met some of the local wrestlers
13,
in Utah.
but look, 17. From what I've heard is that I don't have proof on this, but what I've heard is that she did know how old he was. That was actually said. But what the judges said was that for all but a month's difference, this would have been under the Juliet law.
Yeah.
And it would have been consensual. So now a lot of people are saying 13-year-olds cannot consent. And this is
I
a hard
agree they
situation.
cannot.
So this is a hard No, okay.
It's tough.
This is about to get heavy. Sorry. We had a foster son who was 5 years old and regularly asked me for sexual favors. He was 5 years old.
What trauma did that kid go through?
Exactly. So he did not stay with us for long because it's not something I could handle.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's the reality. But there are kids that are having sex, and we can say, "Oh, not in my nice neighborhood." Oh my
Oh, I know
goodness,
there
not.
are.
I mean, we're the family. We've got politicians in our family. It would never happen to us, but it does happen.
Well, remember
And
the
and
DuPont
asking this girl
family.
for 25 extra years because you hate her grandfather, her step
Well,
grandfather.
see, now that's a rough one. If they're making the punishment harder because of her being tied to him, I
Politics.
disagree with that too. And me, I'm an open guy. I'm ready to tar and feather any corrupt politician or judge or anything. I think I know where to buy tar. I still need to talk to Fazio if I can buy feathers, but I'm down. I'm down for tarring and feathering. But
Yeah.
my question on it is, I don't want a law written to defend a family member. I want laws written in open and in the blind. I want them
Mhm.
open and that blind justice right there. I want them open. I don't want laws written because I have a pending case coming up. I wouldn't want a law written that says, because uh, uh, a law, I wouldn't want a law written that would punish me post de facto or protect me post de facto.
Yeah, I think that you have to be a principled person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. Like I think that you have to be a principled person, and I don't know. I just know that my heart goes out to kids who got themselves in a really ugly situation.
Yeah.
The rest of it to me is like,
So what's the punishment this young lady, what's the punishment she walked away with? Because I read on the news that she spent, was it 3 nights in jail or something, and then got 3 years probation or something like that, but she gets nothing heavy. But you're telling me that she did get heavy. And did she
it
get
depends.
heavy
It
because
depends on what you think is. It depends on what you think is heavy. It depends on what you think is appropriate.
well,
So,
okay, what I think is appropriate in this situation, well, honest opinion, most of the time, if this young man is traumatized, I think reparations to him need to be made. Now, if he's traumatized because he wanted to continue the relationship and she got the ick because she finally recognized that, wait a second, he's so young and he still likes to race home from school to watch Cartoon Network, then the reparations he would want are reparations I would not want her to give. But if it is a situation where she forced herself on him, I would like the reparations to be paid. I don't know. Registering her as a sex offender while she's still in high school and pictures herself as that, would that be a benefit to the community? I don't know. Would jail time be a benefit to the community? I don't know. Would something that be a benefit to the community, like maybe she's out pulling weeds on the side of the road and picking up trash for a couple months, would that be a benefit? Yes, that would. That's something that would benefit the community. Now, reparations to the boy. So you could either pay him her hourly wage for doing prison work, which it, $1.25 an hour or whatever they pay now. That's kind of a weird system, but I don't know if I would change it because I haven't schooled myself up on that, but I don't know. It makes me wonder how you would manage that. Do I think it would service the community? Do I think it would be a huge disservice if you gave her the extreme punishment because her step grandfather is someone who is political a political adversary of yours. That would be a negative service to the community. One, you're setting a precedent. Not a fan of precedent setting. Precedence always comes back to bite you in the butt. So I don't know. I would have to look into it more. But did she get like she has to register as a sex offender forever?
Yes.
That I think that's too far for an 18-year-old.
Second degree felony forever. So, I mean, but I think what it comes down to me is we were talking about that term that some people don't agree with, woke right, woke left. Okay, to me, this I am so right that if somebody doesn't agree with me, they are wrong and they should burn and blah 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 blah. Watching that play out, watching stories being played out that are, in my opinion, we don't have all of the information, and also
that is true.
In my opinion, these kids are kids, and I get it. She turned 18, but these kids are kids, and to sit there and say, you know what, here's the scarlet letter, wear it for the rest of your life.
I didn't know the genders were swapped.
And to praise it as if it's virtuous. It's nothing but sad. Good. It's nothing but sad. And I feel like that is really, I mean, it is sad that kids are, I mean, yeah, in my perfect world, which it's not my perfect world, kids wouldn't be having sex until they're married. But hey, I didn't even follow that. So no, we it's
very few of us did.
But in my perfect world, that would be that's the ideal situation, at least when they're responsible. But how do we get to play the moral high ground when we just say, you are damned and let's exploit it for everything it's worth because of who you are related to?
I still want to know the trauma of this 13-year-old boy. That's a big question in my mind. Now he says he's telling me, Calvin Ball, reparations for rape, but not for stole labor. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say we fast forward 160 years and her descendants, should they have to pay his descendants then? I am all for reparations in the immediate, maybe in the immediate after. I am not okay with reparations 5 generations after. That just doesn't work. That you're just punishing people who weren't there, had no conscious part of it, nor did they, the other side, bear the unconscious brunt of it. This would be a big one. Let's do it for Genghis Khan. So Genghis Khan, his genome, his markers are on 1/3 of all Asians. Drink that in, folks. That means Genghis Khan committed a lot of the R word. A lot.
Wow.
A lot. One human being genome is on 1/3 of the Asian population. Should they have to pay each other for that?
You can't even measure it
because they're all descendants.
But it's also just a waste of time. It is a waste. It is a waste of time, and it's a waste of life to constantly think, "You owe me. How dare you?"
And
what
imagine
a waste of life.
What would the cultural rift be from that? Do you think our culture would be healed? Do you think white people
Healing's
would
not the goal.
Feel good for them when their taxes go up, 15% and the market plummets because of all the instant spending that hits it? Everything. The next day, eggs cost $50 a carton, and cars. You cannot buy a car. You cannot. And then because all these new cars hit the market, insurance rates shoot through the roof. Could you imagine? You know what? Do it. Do it. Do it. I'm a nihilist. Do it. I don't care. I will sit back and watch. And then Neenerpuss,
I do.
we can meet up after and we can go, how'd it go, big guy? How was that trade-off? But I want to roll back up to Jordan says he went to a free wrestling show, met some local Utah wrestlers. Tell us more. What was it like a WWE style where they like it with the ropes and the tight pants, like lucha libres and stuff? Was it? I mean, that'd be a good time. I used to like to go watch when they used to have like local Utah UFC down at Sandy Station. So years ago, 20 years ago, I'd go watch that. I know Neenerpuss says he's older than me, but I still doubt it. Maybe he is. I don't know. I'm 50. But yeah, I used to go down there and watch that. I used to love that. Matter of fact, the first time I got pulled over, I stole my mom's car. I was 14. And I was giving my buddy a ride to his grandma's house up here in Twilla. I lived in Grantsville and got pulled over by, I wish I remember his name, but it was the Twilla police officer who started the Utah UFC years later. He kind of got fired from Twilla because Twilla kind of had a problem with their police officers having affairs, and I think he got caught up in that. But that's me speculating. I was young then, and that's just what I heard. But I know he went on to start the Utah UFC, and you used to be able to watch it on like channel 13 at night or 14, whatever. And he would be there announcing and did all that. And I often wonder now, since that's gone away and it's kind of been absorbed into this greater UFC movements, where he's gone. Has he been swallowed into that? Or heck, he's probably in his late 60s now, or, however old. But I often wonder where he is. He wasn't a bad police officer. He didn't write me a ticket, but he got called away real quick for a fire. So I kind of got away with it. But yeah, I was a rather savage youth. I was a rambunctious youth who grew up in that traditional Gen X style, latchkey kid through and through. You still hold the fruits of the crime. No. Oh, do you? No. Does everyone? No. Does every descendant of someone who owned slaves, are they still wealthy? Maybe we'd have to adjudicate that. Maybe we could do it a percentage. This is how much wealth you have, how many generations away. We'll cut that down. What if they're poor? Like, what if they're
a lot of people
like a homeless guy? You go up there, like one of them's a homeless guy, and you go up there and say, "You owe him," and steal his shoes. Go give it to some black guy out on the street. You get his shoes. The black guy's like, "Ooh, those are gross. Right. I don't want those. Look, I got nice kicks on. Well, here, they're yours. You must take them. You must take them."
It's
you have to have them.
That's my whole point about redemption. We get to have personal redemption. And that's the whole thing about the woke religion. There is no redemption. You must constantly absolve. And so if you don't want that, that's why I never fell for this nonsense from the very beginning.
It's not just that. I know in my genealogy, I have an officer on the Union side and an officer on the Confederate side. So the officer on the Union side, so let's say, and I think both of them made it through it, but let's say someone's a descendant of a Union person who died at Gettysburg, but also they're a descendant of someone who, survived as a Confederate. And so they've got both prices and benefit coming down the timeline to them. Someone whose family grew up in the poverty of the post-Civil War era when the father died and everything else. And someone who I mean, not that many Confederates kept any of their wealth. I mean, there was that whole Sherman took care of that for him. Thank you. You know, I mean, there was a little bit, you know, or what if someone's a descendant of a wife of a Confederate that was away that a Union soldier raped? And that's how that ancestor came about. So there's all this that comes down the pipeline. How do you adjudicate that this many generations later?
Don't, and there's no goal to do so. There is no goal to do so. That's a come in South Africa. They call them previously privileged people and say they still need another 30 years of doing what they're doing to them. So
well,
there's no when your religion is hate, it doesn't turn off.
I think that's what it is. The religion of hate. We got to look in the past and find something to hate. We've got to look around us and find something to hate. We won't look around us and find something of joy, something to aspiring. We're going to look for hate. Did you get paid?
The only reason in the world I could be a Muslim.
Did I get paid for? Have I been paid for anything that a slave owner did? I don't think I've ever been paid by a slave owner. I don't. I mean, let's think. Okay. In high school, I worked at the dump, got done with the dump. I joined the Army. Granted, you could maybe make some arguments in that state. Joined the Army, got out of the Army, worked construction, stopped working construction, went back and worked for the government for a spell, stopped that. Got a job at a casino. I was also a bouncer at a brothel. There's a little fun time fact for you. Got done with that, came back here, worked at a diesel remanufacturing place, got done with that, went and worked at a place where we resurfaced bathtubs, got done with that, went out to the salt plant, and intermittent in between that was a handyman. So I don't know if I've been paid by anyone who owns slaves. I don't think so, but it's not apparent to me. How about you?
I mean, legend has it my grandfather was a member of the KKK.
Did he pay you?
No.
Like have you? He was your grandfather. Did you meet him? Like, did you know him? Like, maybe one time you went over there and. Yeah. Did he like throw a coin at you?
His mind, and I would say the repentance was that he changed his mind when I was born.
But was he a slaveholder?
Well, who knows? I mean, if he's a member of the KKK, it's not. And also,
here's one thing.
That would have been 100 years ago.
Let me stand up for a Democrat real quick. Okay. Stand up for the Democrats. There is not one KKK member who owned slaves. Because remember, the KKK came around after abolition of slavery. So
okay, sure. So that I know of,
just spitting facts.
Yeah, that I know of, no, but also, I have a very, very wealthy, famous relative who's died now, who is, he didn't need reparations. Let's put it that way.
Oh, he was on the other side of it. The other side of the color card.
So he was black.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, I'm only second generation that I'm aware of here in America. So do I have a right? But in Haiti, I think there weren't slaves in Haiti. So then do I have a right to have like global reparations?
There was in the Haitians.
Reparations is the dumbest thing.
How about here's one for you, Neener Puss. How about the reparations that France is demanding from Haiti for them overthrowing the slave owners? That's a funny one. And that's still happening today. France is demanding reparations from Haiti.
Oh my gosh.
Let's just do it. Let's say, Neener Puss, let's go with your plan. Let's do it. Let's see how it pans out. Let's do it. I'm a nihilist. I'm okay. You know what?
Wow.
Out of the ashes, I don't know. Ashes to whatever. 1915, Birth of a Nation, played first first movie played in the White House by anybody?
I don't know.
Anybody? Woodrow Wilson, Democrat, professor, another educator, dean, if you will, apologist for the South, for the Confederacy, and also the person who destroyed our money as we know it today by forcing the signing of the Federal Reserve. So that's all on your party. My party didn't watch it there. Actually, her party didn't. I'm not a Republican.
Have a party.
I know. I'm an independent. Like, gosh, I would join the libertarians if they'd pull their head out of their butt. Really, I want to ask them one time, like, is it hard to run when your voice is stopped by your colon?
Okay. What did you get me involved in here?
Haiti did pay for their freedom with blood. They didn't buy themselves out of slavery. Haiti did not buy themselves out of slavery.
I would argue that America did something similar.
America did.
And the more that we do, the more I don't understand how having full cities, multiple generations of dependency don't count as reparations. I don't understand that.
But it's not reparations. I mean, technically, it's exactly what reparations would do, but it's not reparations because the dependency we've given them have set them back. It's destroyed them.
Yes, it has 100%. But
it's hurt them so bad.
But people still want it. They still want it. They still, and I'm watching middle class white kids want the same life. They just want things to be paid for them. They don't want to work for them.
Yeah. Did you watch that Jubilee video I sent you?
Which one was it? Because I've seen a few.
One black radical versus 20 black conservatives. That was an interesting one. She's been crashing out after. She's been trying to justify. And a lot of her arguments, I think, had a root in common sense, but she would always take it
too far
to a place that no one could follow her. Like in the end, there would only be ashes. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Like true. The black nationalists and the black separatists, if they got what they wanted, they would be the ones that paid the worst price in the end. It would be a total collapse. We've got to have this working together part. Otherwise we collapse. There's technically the only race, if every other race disappeared and only one race was left, the only one that could make it would be the whites. And that's just because of numbers, just because of just sheer numbers, right? It's not because of capability or anything else.
That's what I've always thought. Like, what are you asking for? You want a race war when you're less than 3% of the population in Utah? Like, come on.
Well, 13% nationally, you know.
Right. Yeah. But then we have illegal immigration, and they are oftentimes a certain military age men.
Well, I mean,
so that's another factor.
Have you followed Michael Yon at all?
No.
Oh, that's a wild one. He talks about what he saw at the Darien Gap, and I'm like, how many?
Oh yeah.
How many like Chinese special forces are in the States right now, just in a camp? I remember in New Mexico when they found that Al Qaeda camp because some kids that they had there got sick and died, and then they stumble in, like doing a home welfare check, and they're like, "What the hell? It's an Al Qaeda camp in the U.S." And because there are so, like, you could go up into Montana, lose yourself in the woods, and build a whole city, and no one would know. Well, I don't know. Satellites might, but I don't know if satellites would know what to look for. I mean, do they overlay themselves in that? I don't know. We're in a wild place, man. I don't know. the future's going to be fun. Hopefully we all keep interbreeding. Eventually we all end up olive, and then we can argue about something stupid like eye color or propensity of whether you like eating crickets or ants, or whatever they're going to bring us to in the future. Again, I'm a nihilist. It is what it is. Yeah, we're in wild times. Wild times. What would be cool is to have you come on and we do a show talking about like the different cultural stuff between all the different culturals and how that has echoed through time, showing us who we are now just by like what crop dominated their culture as they were birthing. That's wild stuff to get into.
I mean, there are people who hate each other because they live on one side of the river than the other.
Well, of course.
Literally, like that, just that much, and they are the same race of people. That's been throughout history. People have enslaved each other based on who wins the war, and we're talking about just one tribe to the next. So
yeah, I mean,
it's ridiculous to think that it comes down to simply about race, and it's ridiculous. It is abusive to continuously hit the hammer home that a certain group of people have been oppressed and to never give them a chance to breathe and overcome it.
Every time I talk about this stuff afterwards, I got to go listen to Megadeth Holy War. For those of you who don't know, check it out. It's an outstanding song. And then followed up with Peace Sells. Enjoy. I just want to close out with a question. Do you think Great Britain has a chance? Do you think they can fight it back? They had that Raise the Colors movement 2 weeks ago. Do you think they have a chance? Are they going to fight it back?
I think that if they don't, well, I always believe we have a chance. I'm a person of faith. You aren't. So I'm a person of faith, and I always believe that there is an opportunity to do the right thing. I don't know if they will take it. I think that they've been beaten down. I think they are a very dependent culture, and I think that sadly the things that I fight against here are the same things that they've embraced.
They've already lost that fight.
If they've embraced it 15 years ago, that's an entire generation who's already gone through the school system, and they already believe all of the dumb things that make them not even have the will. But I think that if anything's going to stop them, it's watching their children be on the front lines.
Oh, man.
Because as long as you can say it's not happening, your children are safe, don't worry, these people are crazy, I don't know what they're talking about. As long as you can convince yourself of that, you won't do anything. But once it actually happens, maybe. I hope so. I hope so because, like I've said, South Africa should be a warning. Great Britain should be a warning. The UK, Canada. I'll tell you, I'll leave it on this note, but I think our governor is very, very similar to the Prime Minister of the UK.
Oh, yeah. That new bill he put out where he gets to control all housing developments. I'm like, what are you doing? That's just so he can step in and say, no, that's not Salt Lake City enough for me. I will mention this in the end. The most free market conservative places are all of those that suffered under your loved socialism. Talking Hungary.
Yep.
Talking. I mean, even technically Russia. Russia doesn't put up with that stuff there, right or wrong. It doesn't. And when the socialism's tried, when they come out the other side, they look at it and they go, "Holy cow, that was stupid," and they do something way different, right or wrong. They do something way different. So.
And that's hope. That's hope, but at a global scale, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I think we have to fight like it's in our hands, and in my opinion, trust like it's in God's.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
That's why you guys need to, every man on earth, every man, once you're old enough, you need to go down and you buy yourself an AR-15. It's the first thing you buy. You turn 18, you buy an AR-15. Because that's how we're going to stay free. That's it. Anyways, everyone, that's Carrie Bartholomew. She works for, she's like it says right there, she's the director of Utah Moms for America. And Moms for America is a pro-liberty. I would argue you don't have to be conservative. You just can't be communist. Group of moms that are out there. They're fighting to take back.
I don't say standing. We are grassroots advocates. We're kind of community organizers, and our focus is on empowering parents, raising the next generation of patriots, and promoting
taking the welfare of your kids back from the state and putting it where it belongs, in the family.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll be out in Toole, I'll be out there for your Constitution Festival. So
at Grantsville.
Yeah, I'll be.
Okay,
I'll be playing Harriet.
Oh, like are you now? All right, I can't wait. I'm going to try to be there. I might be a little bit late because that is next weekend.
It's coming
Isn't
up.
It?
I don't know. I don't look until
it's the 6th.
Okay.
So next weekend, got a family trip up to dig for some fossils, because who doesn't like digging for fossils? And then I'm going to try to be there. So I hope I run into you there and get myself a Begay taco. They make a killer Navajo taco. You'll see it when you get there. Taco stand. All right, everyone, have a good weekend. Have a good night. Neener Puss, thank you for the outstanding conversation. Jordan, thanks for joining us again. It's good to see you, man. I hope you had a good time. Dave, of course, always. Chad, thanks for showing up. Go Chiefs, or now they're called the Mavericks. It's kind of a cool name. DB Cooper, thank you. Everyone, thank you for showing up. And we've lost some of the older comments on there, but everyone, thanks for showing up. It's good to see y'all.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully